Chapter 367. During the Three Realms era, the Frosty North sect had three founding masters: Han Bingyi, Li Shui, and Amu. They were the pride of the Frosty North sect. Although the three founding masters were no longer cultivating when Miao Longer entered the sect, she was fortunate enough to become Han Bingyi's disciple. She was also Han Bingyi's only disciple. The Frosty North sect. Dongfang Jiu-er's gaze was distant, her mind wandering. Miao Long-er's words were enough to evoke too many memories. But how long ago was that? Which lifetime had it been? Everything had been too long, so long that it felt unreal. But she still remembered that she had been to the Frosty North sect as a disciple of the Crimson Snow Pavilion. That year, she had been dressed in a blue dress, and he had been dressed in white. That year, she had seen him and given him 5,000 spirit coins. That year, she had been defeated by him during the three sects competition. That year, she had told him that her name was Dongfang Huan and she had asked him to remember her. Unfortunately to him, she was just a passer-by. So that year, love had taken root and hatred had sprouted. Everything was like a dream. Miao Longer introduced himself. Dongfang Jiu-er's expression changed. Her beautiful eyes were sometimes gentle, sometimes sad. So what if I lived or died? So what if I reincarnated in another world? She had never forgotten the past. Everything would always come back from the dead and then die again. This kind of reincarnation was terrifying. At that moment, the sword in Dongfang Jiu-er's hand trembled slightly. Miao Long-er was the first person from the three realms she had met, even though she had never seen him before. Have you seen him? Legend has it that he is in the Yizong world. After a while, Dongfang Jiu looked at Miao Long-er and asked slowly. Dongfang Jiu did not say who he was, but Miao Long-er could understand her. Never. Miao Long-er shook his head. I have never seen him in the three realms. Now the Yizong world is too big. I do not have that kind of opportunity. Dongfang Jiu nodded without saying anything. Senior Dongfang, I have heard of your story. Miao Longer looked at Dongfang Jiu. The Dongfang clan was able to pass down their heritage to the Yizong world because of your reincarnation power. My story? Ha! Dongfang Jiu smiled and shook her head. I don't have a story. I have no power at all. I just want to do my best to keep my people alive. Oh? Miao Long-er's expression changed slightly. However, if it's only about staying alive, then there's no need for the Dongfang clan to seize the Moze's rare treasure. Dongfang Jiu's eyes flickered. Who doesn't want a rare treasure? However, they probably didn't expect it to be a monster. In this life, I no longer care about the internal affairs of the clan. If not for the divine inheritance pendant shattering today, I'm afraid I wouldn't have appeared. The Dongfang clan's divine pendant of inheritance was hanging from Dongfang Mo's neck. Miao Longer nodded and looked at Dongfang Jiu with a playful gaze. He then pointed at Sumo and said, Senior Dongfang, in your opinion, should his surname be Shao or Murong? It doesn't matter what your surname is. Dongfang Jiu sneered. A demon twin, originally one. Why did you kill him? Miao Longer asked. Why did I kill him? Dongfang Jiu chuckled, feeling that Miao Longer had asked a very boring question. You know my story, so you should know why I wanted to kill him. Moreover, do I need a reason to kill a demon? No need. Miao Longer answered straightforwardly, but then she changed the topic. However, Senior Dongfang should understand. Whether his surname is Shao or Murong, or even underworld supremacy, he isn't a true demon. The demon we speak of is before the three realms was born, before the Nirvana realm. However, that demon had already been dispelled by the supremacies back then. Dispelled the seal? Dongfang Jiu sneered. Someone once said that the three realms would live forever, right? However, what happened in the end? The galaxy was destroyed? Moreover, I wanted him not only because of the demon, but also because he could have the surname Shao. What happened in the Three Realms galaxy back then? Miao Longer asked. I don't know. I was in a deep sleep in samsara, Dongfang Jur answered. When I woke up, the galaxy was already destroyed. The Devil's Flower floated in the Three Realms galaxy. When Miao Longer heard this, he frowned and let out a long sigh. Everything was a mess, and there wasn't a single clue at all. But, Senior Dongfang. Miao Longer calmed down and looked at Dongfang Jur. Just now, if it wasn't for the Sword of Six Paths, he wouldn't have been demonized. He is very sensitive to that sword. Lady Miao, what do you mean? Dongfang Jur frowned. Are you suspecting that the Dongfang clan, or rather, me, is purposely attracting the demon? Miao Longer smiled and didn't deny it. She asked, Senior Dongfang, what did you do? In the dark, my power has been sealed. That allowed the two burial gods from the Undying Kingdom to escape the Sky Speech Palace. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had the chance to attack. What? Dongfang Jur was shocked. Everyone present was taken aback. The Dongfang clan had that kind of power? Imprisoned Miao Longer? Imprisoned someone at the peak of the break world, or a third-tier sky immortal? Dongfang Jur gave a wry smile. If she recovered that kind of power, she wouldn't have needed Miao Longer to attack. She would have chosen to kill Sumo, no matter who he was. Dongfang Jur's expression shocked Miao Longer. She could tell that Dongfang Jur wasn't faking it. Everything that happened just now wasn't her. If that was the case, then things were worse than she expected. Guan Xiong forcefully pressured the Undying Kingdom because he wanted to uncover the ultimate power behind the Undying Kingdom. Dongfang Jur's appearance could explain a lot. Originally, Miao Longer thought everything would fall on Dongfang Jur, who was a reincarnator. But now, she overturned that assumption. The corpse-less sect. Miao Longer's second guess was confirmed. Her face changed. If it was someone from the corpse-less sect who imprisoned her, then it would be scary. Ha ha ha! At that moment, a bell-like laughter rang out from the void. When that voice was heard, the expressions of the elders of the Undying Kingdom loosened up. The person they had been longing for had finally appeared again. Emissary Yi of the corpse-less sect. That woman would decide the fate of the Undying Kingdom. The Undying Kingdom's elder placed all of his bets on her, that's why he staked everything on one throw. Unfortunately, Emissary Yi had appeared a bit too late. Miao Longer and the other cultivators of the northern Chill City were shocked. Of all the cultivators there, aside from Dongfang Jur and Miao Longer, no one could see the level of the blue-clothed woman. Immortal Realm. Original Immortal Realm 3rd Tier. Miao Longer and Dongfang Jur exclaimed at the same time. Immortal Realm in Yizong World was the same as Original Immortal Realm in the galaxy. Emissary Yi of the Corpseless Sect was in the 3rd Tier of Immortal, which was Original Immortal Realm 3rd Tier. At this time, Sumo was unconscious. If he was awake, he would be shocked. Because the blue-clothed woman was Yi Wuhui. Chapter 368. Ha ha ha, her voice was like a silver bell, and her blue dress fluttered in the wind. Yi Wuhui stood in the void and glanced at everyone. Her gaze did not linger on anyone for long, as if everyone present was not worthy of her attention. However, in the end, her gaze fell on the unconscious Suemo. At that moment, Yi Wuhui's lips curled into a smile, and her eyes were filled with playfulness. Corpse-less sect? Miao Longer frowned and asked Yi Wuhui. Northern Chill City? Yi Wuhui asked Miao Longer in the same tone. Why do you need to know? Although Yi Wuhui was a one-lifetime Immortal Realm expert, Miao Longer was not afraid. Lady, are you the one who started the Undying Kingdom's challenge to Northern Chill City? Were you the one who sealed my power just now? Yi Wuhui laughed. My name is Yi Wuhui. Am I the one who sealed your power? However, Lady Miao seemed to be resentful when she called me the one who started the challenge. Why? Northern Chill City is so high and mighty that you don't allow others to challenge you? My Northern Chill City roams the realms, and your corpse-less sect does not interfere with each other's business. Miao Longer sneered. Lady Yi, don't you think that the battle you started is a bit unnecessary? Unnecessary? Yi Wuhui shook her head. My corpse-less sect never does unnecessary things. Without this battle, you wouldn't have left the northern Chill City so easily. Without this battle, would I have met the reincarnated traveler of the three realms? Without this battle, how would I be able to see him? Yi Wuhui looked at Miao Long-er, then at Dongfang Jie, and finally at Sumo. Sumo was her biggest target. Everything is great now. How beautiful! Yi Wuhui looked around at the destroyed Undying City, and was actually very happy. She smiled with admiration. The only flaw is that too few people died. Why didn't you massacre Northern Chill City? Didn't the Undying Kingdom challenge your authority? Yi Wuhui had a natural smile on his face, but the rest of the cultivators felt a little uncomfortable. Actually, in this battle, many of the Undying Kingdom's cultivators have already died. Most of them had been insta-killed by the shockwaves of a deity-burying battle. In Yi Wuhui's eyes, such a catastrophe was a fly in the ointment. What a pity! Actually, I hope that you can kill each other. That way, I won't have to do it myself. Yi Wuhui continued to smile, as if he was talking about a very casual topic. My corpse-less sect doesn't like corpses, we only like puppets. By the time he finished speaking, Yi Wuhui's expression had changed. Her aura also changed. Today, none of you shall leave. Stay here and be my puppet. Otherwise, I will be very lonely. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Yi Wuhui kept laughing, but there was too much of a ghost in his laughter. It was the laughter of the devil. If Sumo saw this scene, she would definitely not dare to believe it. Whoosh! Yi Wuhui suddenly formed a hand seal. Looking again, countless corpses suddenly crawled out from the ruins of the Undying Kingdom. They were the Undying Kingdom's cultivators who died just now. At this moment, their bodies were emitting black light, their eyes were grayish-white. Ugh! Ah! Roar! The cultivators who died just now couldn't help but roar. With the help of Yi Wuhui's technique, the damaged parts of their bodies were recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. In an instant, they could move freely again. They weren't zombies, but cultivators who could move like humans. They were extremely agile, even more so than before. However, their eyes were a bit lifeless. Group puppet technique? All the cultivators present were shocked. They had only heard of this technique, but they had never seen it before. Yi Wuhui's lips curved into a smile. Her beautiful face carried a demonic aura. Her technique was controlling everything. At this moment, she was like a deity that ruled over all living beings. Corpse-less sect wanted to rule over everything. They wanted to hold the reins of all living beings, then control them. They wanted to be above fate. All the worlds were like puppets, they were all in my hands. At this moment, Yi Wuhui's eyes shone with an indescribable excitement. Kill! The Undying Kingdom's cultivators who came back from the dead charged at the cultivators present like a tide. And at this moment, their realms actually received an indescribable increase. At this moment, whether it was the Undying Kingdom's cultivators or the Northern Chill City's cultivators, they all felt a kind of fear. Yi Wuhui's technique was too terrifying. Elder Yang, you have eaten my yuan boosting pill, what are you waiting for? Yi Wuhui smiled strangely at Elder Yang, who was in the Undying Kingdom's elder camp. Huh! Before the Undying Kingdom's elders could react, Elder Yang's eyes had already turned grayish-white. At the same time, he suddenly stretched out his hand. Puff! His hand turned into a claw and directly pierced through the immortal heart of an Undying Realm late-stage elder beside him. And that elder's eyes also turned grayish-white. Puppet transformation! That technique actually spread like a virus. At that moment, Elder Yang actually attacked another Undying Kingdom's elder. Everything happened too fast. No one expected that they would be sneak attacked by their companions. Boom! The Undying Kingdom's great elder Qin Yui had already made his move and directly punched at Elder Yang. And Fang Zheng also directly attacked the Undying Realm late-stage elder, who had just been transformed into a puppet. How could the corpse-less sex elixir be so delicious? When Yi Wuhui gave Elder Yang the elixir, he had already arranged everything. Taking away Sumo's things was naturally the first task. At the same time, she wanted to turn the entire Undying Kingdom into a puppet country. In an instant it was a mess. The entire Undying City had turned into a charaba. The northern Chill City's cultivators were relatively better. Firstly, their cultivation was higher. Secondly, Miao Longer blocked everything. Unless Yi Wuhui personally took action, no one could hurt them. Formation. Even so, Miao Longer immediately issued an order. All the people of the northern Chill City quickly stood in the designated positions. Leave his things and you can all go. Yi Wuhui looked at Miao Longer and smiled. The corpse-less sect still doesn't want to become enemies with the northern Chill City. Isn't that a great honor? Miao Longer sneered. But I can't make a decision on other people's things. If you have the ability, take it yourself. Really? Yi Wuhui smiled. Then I can take it myself. I hope Lady Miao won't interfere. Qi. Looking at Yi Wuhui, she raised one hand and a blue light appeared in her palm. However, she didn't attack anyone. The blue light went through the purple lotus throne and fell on Sumo's body. Come! Yi Wuhui lightly shouted. At the same time, she grabbed the void with one hand. Miao Longer didn't know what exactly Yi Wuhui wanted to take. However, she only saw that Yi Wuhui's hand was empty. The blue light also disappeared on Sumo's body. Yi Wuhui was startled. This was something she didn't expect. Her Dharma spell couldn't take the things on Sumo's body? Miao Longer looked at Yi Wuhui and sneered again. Lady Yi, you can't take it, right? Then, we won't keep you company. Let's go. Just now, the cultivators of the northern Chill City had already set up the formation. Miao Longer was just waiting for the teleportation. Whoosh, mystic lights appeared everywhere. The teleportation formation of the northern Chill City had already been activated. Miao Longer raised one hand and a tall ice mountain appeared in the void. It was a secret art of the sea, and it directly covered Yi Wuhui. As long as Miao Longer could stop Yi Wuhui for a moment, it would be a success. However, a cold smile appeared on Yi Wuhui's face. Chapter 369. Being immortal was much more powerful than those who had completed the breaking world. There was still a sea destruction realm between them. In other words, they were not on the same level as each other. Miao Longer knew that, so she chose to run away right away. However, she was too confident in her ice element sorcery. In fact, escaping from a powerhouse also required absolute strength. Miao Longer did not have the 9-yin body. Her ice mountain spell was far from powerful enough. Boom! The ice mountain fell with an imposing manner. That kind of ice mountain was enough to kill a breaking world cultivator. The cold air it emitted even caused the surrounding air to stagnate, and even directly freeze. The teleportation formation in northern Chill City only needed a moment. But Yi Wuhui, who was immortal, did not give them that chance. Boom, whoosh! The sound of the ice mountain falling stopped almost as soon as it appeared. Yi Wuhui did not do anything, but the ice mountain vaporized in front of Yi Wuhui. It was a terrifying and inconceivable scene. That was the power of being immortal. At that moment, it was as if Miao Longer had raised her hand and summoned a cloud mountain. Whoosh! Yi Wuhui sneered. Then, the cloud mountain fell like rain. The rain was like countless silver needles, heading for Miao Longer and the others. That was not the scariest thing. The scariest thing was that the rain had frozen the teleportation formation in northern Chill City. At that moment, the light of the teleportation formation suddenly stopped. Time seemed to have stopped for a moment. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The sound of something breaking through the air never stopped. The void was like glass that was riddled with holes. Apart from Miao Longer, all the cultivators in northern Chill City felt dizzy. Being immortal meant that he was a top immortal cultivator. The power that Yi Wuhui could control was unbelievable to them. Boom! Yi Wuhui waved his hand and the raindrop turned into a column of water that shot at Miao Long. Yi Wuhui had not used his full power yet. She did not want to kill Miao Long unless she had no other choice. Because Miao Long background was too powerful. The Corpseless clan was not afraid of Han Bingyi, but they definitely did not want to provoke the other two grandmasters of the Frigid North clan. Legend has it that the Millennium Sacred Lotus originally belonged to someone from the Yizong realm. He was only a guide in the three realms. Back then, Amu, who had merged the 9 coffins into one, had finally dispersed the karmic roulette and left the immeasurable fairy on a boat. Rumor had it that he was above the Venerable One. There was no need for the Corpseless sect to become enemies with such an existence. Therefore, Yi Wuhui only wanted to force Miao Longer to leave so that she could keep Sumo. However, Miao Longer would not let Sumo stay so easily. Not to mention that Sumo's identity was very special, even with Miao Long-er's personality, he would not let Yi Wuhui get his hands on her so easily. Miao Long-er was Han Bingyi's only disciple. Ever since Han Bingyi had forgotten her love for Miao Long-er, she had been extremely pampered and spoiled. Ever since she was young, no one had been able to snatch anything from Miao Long-er. Domineering and domineering. When Miao Longer stole other people's things, it was more like it. Now, even if Yi Wuhui was immortal, he would not be able to do it. Boom! The water column came. Miao Longer's pupils shrank. Yi Wuhui did not want to kill Miao Longer, but Miao Longer was not going to be polite. Han Bingyi once told Miao Longer, "In all the worlds there is no one you cannot kill. As long as you can kill them. Kill." Miao Longer did not cultivate the forget-love path, but she was Han Bingyi's disciple. Yi Wuhui was blocking the northern cold city's formation. Miao Longer suddenly wanted to kill him. The water column came. Miao Longer bit the tip of her tongue and spat out some blood. She had completed the break world. If she used normal techniques, she would not be able to hurt Yi Wuhui. She would not be able to kill him. But Miao Longer's teacher was still very powerful. After all, Han Bingyi used to cultivate in the three worlds' holy mountain as a fairy servant. She knelt for 100 years just to catch up. Han Bingyi had learned most of the vast sea fairy technique. Although she did not learn it as comprehensively as Amu or Murong Haiqing, she had learned the essence of the vast sea ancient flow. Miao Longer had her own secret technique. Poof! As soon as the soul blood appeared, it hit the water column. In an instant, the water column turned into ice and stopped in the air. But it looked like it was dyed with blood. Vast sea manifestation, whoosh! Suddenly, the ice column shattered. Wind blew. Each of the fragments carried a bloody glow that reflected the world. The vast sea manifestation technique was the foundation of all vast sea ancient flow technique. The vast sea manifestation technique was the vast sea ancient flow technique. The technique of vast sea immortal venerable was very mysterious. Originally, the fairy technique had 9 tiers. Once it was used, there was a vast green air that could turn into many manifestations. But Miao Longer had only cultivated to the 2nd or 3rd tier, and she had to use the soul blood to catalyze it. Compared to Amu's vast sea manifestation technique, it could not be mentioned in the same breath. Even so, the space was still extraordinary. Whoosh, whoosh, Miao Longer's face turned pale, but she still used her technique. At that moment, Yi Wuhui's expression changed. Because the scenery in front of her had completely changed. Inside the ice column, there was an ice mountain that pointed to the sky, a river that rolled to the west, an ocean that had thousands of waves. She knew that it was an illusion. However, that illusion was filled with boundless power. It was not the power that a world-breaking cultivator should have. Most importantly, the power was breaking the power that she had just used. The ice mountain, the river, the ocean, then, the broken ice pieces fell from the sky. Yi Wuhui felt like she had been pulled into another world. Plus, there was an aura that she was familiar with. 3 realms? In fact, Yi Wuhui's memory of the 3 realms was already a bit blurry, or it was a selective forgetfulness, because the memory of the 3 realms pained her. The vast sea manifestation technique could be combined with technique. This time, Miao Longer mixed in an illusion technique. This made Yi Wuhui's heart ache. That was a feeling that she didn't want to feel. But Yi Wuhui was Yi Wuhui after all. Or rather, she was only absent-minded for a split second when the forms came. For ordinary cultivators, that split second was negligible. But for the Beihan Sex array, it was enough. In the sky, the Beihan Sex array flashed and was activated again. And at the moment when the big formation was activated, Yi Wuhui's magic skill had already come again. You don't know what's good for you. Yi Wuhui's face was cold. Strong cultivators hated the meaningless resistance of the weak, because it seemed to be a blasphemy to the strong. At this moment, that was what Yi Wuhui felt. Crack, 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 behind Yi Wuhui, a ghastly white skeletal arm stretched out. It was a horrifying scene. The arm seemed to have grown out of Yi Wuhui's body. It was white and cold. Whoosh! The arm instantly grew to dozens of feet long, like a tree branch, and directly reached into the teleportation array of the northern Chill City. Its target was Miao Longer's Purple Lotus Seat. By then, the Purple Lotus Seat had already started the teleportation and only its shadow was left. Bang! However, that skeletal arm instantly enlarged, and actually firmly grasped the Purple Lotus Seat in its palm. Miao Longer shouted and stabbed the white bone with her spear. Chapter 370. The white skeletal hand pierced through the teleportation array and forcibly pulled the purple lotus throne out of the teleportation array. That was out of everyone's expectation. The immortal realm was so powerful. Yi Wuhui sneered. The skeletal hand came out of her back as if it had grown out of nowhere. That was one of her top-level puppetry skills, a secret skill that was invincible against cultivators below the rebirth state. Whoosh, however, just as the white skeleton's hand grabbed the purple lotus seat, the white skeleton's eyes widened. Miao Longer shouted and attacked again. However, Miao Longer was only a shadow at that time. She was already in a teleportation state. If Yi Wuhui's skeletal hand hadn't grabbed the purple lotus, the northern Chill City's portal would have taken everything away. Miao Longer didn't expect Yi Wuhui to have such a skill. It was too late for her to do anything now. She could only throw out a celestial talisman. Leave it to fate. She used the last of her strength. That celestial talisman was Miao Longer's most powerful trump card. Whoosh! The celestial talisman exploded in the air and a black spear came out of the purple light. Poof! As soon as the spear appeared, it directly pierced through the skeletal arm. At that moment, Yi Wuhui's expression suddenly changed. A rebirth state Dharma treasure? Otherwise, it couldn't have pierced through her arm. That spear was a level 1 eternal state Dharma treasure in the 3 realms. Yi Wuhui's mind shook. At the same time, a horse whinnied. Looking again, a figure leapt out of the purple light with a spear in hand. The entire immortal city was in awe. Just now, the killing in the city had not stopped at all. There were endless shouts. The puppets of the dead cultivators and the elders of the undead city, who were controlled by Yi Wuhui, were frantically attacking. They weren't afraid of death. They were like an army. Because they were already puppets, the normal cultivators of the immortal city were already in a passive position. However, all of a sudden, all the fighting stopped, because Miao Longer's celestial talisman had exploded and the figure that leaped out of it had suppressed everything. It was an immortal will clone. It was supposed to be Miao Longer's final protective talisman. The purple light in the air dissipated, and a red steed appeared. The horse raised its hooves and neighed, its mane fluttering in the wind. It was majestic, like a dragon or a tiger. The aura of a king was incomparably noble. What was even more peculiar was that this purplish-red horse had a long, blood-red horn that was around a foot long growing out of its forehead. It emitted a boundless red light. Below its ribs was a pair of blood-red wings that were 3 meters long. Solar Horse King, a mutant of the 3 realms. That was a gift from Amu to Han Bingi. Even the experienced and knowledgeable Yi Wuhui frowned slightly at the sight of the horse. It was also her first time seeing the legendary Warhorse King. Within the infinite worlds, it was unique, even though it was just a divine sense. On the horse, there was a man dressed in purple. She had a beautiful head and a flawless face. The purple-clothed woman was extremely beautiful, but her gaze was cold and filled with killing intent. Han Bingi, Dongfang Jiu'er, who was in the void, had a complicated look on her face. She was the only one present who recognized the purple-clothed woman. Dongfang Huan and Han Bingi had once fought in the Frosty North sect. Han Bingi could not win that battle, and it was Shun Yen who appeared and saved her. Unfortunately, Dongfang Jiu'er had not regained the power she had back then. Moreover, Han Bingi was not a reincarnator. Coincidentally, she had arrived at the Ikazang world a step earlier than many others. Now, just a divine sense was already so powerful. From that divine sense, she must have already passed the 5 signs of decay and entered the one-life rebirth realm, which was the so-called Eternal Realm cultivator of the 3 realms. Eternal Realm. That was a realm that even Dongfang Huan had not reached at his strongest. One-life rebirth realm? At this moment Yi Wuhui's eyes narrowed. Her white bony arm was already pinned to the void by Han Bingi's spear. The white bony arm was holding onto the lotus seat. The black spear pierced through the white bone. One end of the white bone was connected to Yi Wuhui's back, while the other end of the spear was held in Han Bingi's hand. Beneath the undying city, there was dead silence. Everything froze at this moment. Fortunately, that immortal talisman was only a split divine sense. That divine sense did not attach to Han Bingi's consciousness. Otherwise, if Han Bingi's real body descended, everyone would die. Even so, Yi Wuhui could feel the bone-chilling coldness from Han Bingi's cold gaze. Dongfang Jiu'er's heart trembled when she saw Han Bingi's divine sense. Han Bingi's gaze was no longer the same as before. Perhaps it was because this was just a divine sense. That pair of eyes that were as clear as water actually did not have a trace of emotion. Infatuation, one must forget feelings. Kill. That divine sense was like a program that had been set long ago. The moment Miao Long-er took out the immortal talisman, the order was to kill Yi Wuhui. Therefore, Han Bingi's divine sense carried out the order without hesitation. Crack, Han Bingi flicked one of her hands. A black light flashed on the spear and directly broke the white bony arm. Oh! Yi Wuhui's body shook violently as blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. One must know that the white bony arm was connected to Yi Wuhui's flesh and blood. That divine sense was too strong. At the same time, Han Bingi's divine sense naturally did not stop. The Soul Warhorse King leaped forward like a red bolt of lightning. The Soul Warhorse King could travel 10,000 miles in an instant and jump through space. Its speed was even faster than the Almighty's. Han Bingi's expression was as cold as 10,000 years of ice. Her gaze was clear and cold. It was so cold that it sent chills down one's spine. It was a chill that came from the depths of one's heart. She raised the spear in her hand and stabbed it towards Yi Wuhui's chest. However, Yi Wuhui was at the 3 realms of one-life reincarnation after all. Most importantly, Yi Wuhui had her own means of survival. Her family's teachings were not inferior to the supremacies. Otherwise, she might really have died under Han Bingi's divine sense. Crow deity! Yi Wuhui retreated hurriedly as he shouted. Whoosh! In an instant, a black shadow flew out from behind Yi Wuhui. A black-robed figure stood in front of Yi Wuhui. Its speed was not inferior to the Soul Warhorse King's. In fact, it was even faster than the Soul Warhorse King. The black-robed figure waved its long sleeves and swept them towards Han Bingi's spear. Flowing cloud god's sleeve. A ray of black light that looked like a long knife. Boom, in the air, a great force spread out. The black light was like a tide. The Soul Warhorse King and Han Bingyi's divine senses retreated. The light instantly dimmed. The black-robed figure also retreated. It did not advance. Looking again, its body was slender and tall like a bamboo pole. There seemed to be nothing under the black robe. Its sleeves were past its knees and moved with the wind. The most unique thing was that the black-robed figure was wearing a hood and a white mask. One could not see its face at all. Unfortunately, no one present recognized it. It was the #1 guardian puppet of the Three Realms Moon Villa, the Yi family's crow deity. Yi Wuhui's expression changed. The skeletal arm on her back was almost half broken. At this moment, it was slowly retracting back into her body. The pain penetrated deep into her bones. The purple lotus platform floated in the air. Sumo was still unconscious. Crow deity, destroy that divine sense and take the lotus platform away, Yi Wuhui ordered hatefully. She had suffered great losses in this battle. She was determined to win. 8. Chapter 371. The Crow Divinity was known as the #1 puppet of the Yi clan. Although this puppet was no longer the same one from years ago, its combat ability was not inferior. It had the combat ability of a rebirth state cultivator. Most importantly, it was a puppet with intelligence. Yes. The Crow Divinity responded to Yi Wuhui's order and immediately carried it out. Whoosh! He flicked his sleeve and charged at Han Bingyi. Han Bingyi's will had been seriously injured in the exchange, just now. However, she could still resist. With a flick of the sleeve, Han Bingyi's will sent the spear flying out of her hand. Chi! The spear tore through the air and headed straight for the sleeve. At the same time, Han Bingyi's will formed a seal with both hands. In an instant, green chi filled the air. It contained the vast ocean manifestation technique. Han Bingyi's techniques were basically all personally taught by Ling Yu. Because Ling Yu often saw her own shadow in Han Bingyi. What she loved, but could not compare. Ling Yu had experienced that kind of sorrow. Therefore, Han Bingyi's vast ocean technique was the true inheritance. Whoosh! Green chi filled the air and an ice sword shot out from within the green light. The ice sword was transparent. If one's cultivation level was not high enough, many cultivators would not even be able to see it. They could only feel the ground beneath their feet turn cold, but they did not know why. There was no cold in the air. This was a true Grey technique. It was not restricted in form, but it contained divine might. That ice sword contained the coldest and most Yin energy. This technique had been modified by Morong Haichin years ago. The 9 Yin body was extreme Yin and extreme cold. If Morong Haichin used this technique and dispersed it, the entire chaotic god's mainland would enter an ice age. It was a power that could destroy the heavens and the earth. Right now, Han Bingyi's technique was only targeted at the Crow Divinity. Boom! The will spear headed straight for the Crow Divinity. However, it was scattered by the Crow Divinity's black sleeve. That was true dispersal, not just being sent flying. That was because the spear was a divine will to begin with. However, although it was sent flying, it slightly reduced the power of the flowing cloud god sleeve. Ka. Just as the black sleeve was about to reach Han Bingyi, it was pierced through by the ice sword and instantly turned into ice with a cracking sound. The Crow deity cried out in surprise. Bang! Looking again, Han Bingyi's hand seal suddenly changed. The Crow Divinity's black sleeves were instantly ripped apart. Black ice scattered in all directions like butterflies. Under the long sleeves there was a withered twig that looked like an arm. However, it was covered with runes. Within the black butterfly was an ice sword that shot toward the Crow Divinity. The speed of that sword was extremely fast. The scariest thing was that Han Bingyi's ice sword was almost formless. The distance between them was already extremely close. Chi boom! The Crow Divinity slowed down slightly. The sword landed squarely on the Crow Divinity's chest, causing a huge explosion. The crow divinity instantly retreated hundreds of feet. His black robe was covered in ice flowers. The black robe in front of his chest had completely disappeared. However, underneath the black robe was black wood. Although there were white spots on the black wood and there was a slight dent in it, it was not a big deal. That was not the crow divinity's weak spot. Yi Wuhui could not help but frown. That attack just now was the crow divinity's invincible body. If it were him, that sword would have pierced through his immortal heart and turned him into an ice corpse. A single thought was enough to kill an immortal realm cultivator. However, the crow divinity was still the crow divinity. He was the guardian that the ghost prodigy of the three realms had given to Yi Wuhui. How could he be ordinary? Enough, said the crow divinity as he looked at Han Bingyi's divine will. He laughed coldly. A single divine will is enough. I am quite interested in your true self. However, let's stop here for today. With that, the crow divinity attacked again. The crow divinity's body was comparable to a samsara-grade magic treasure. At this moment, one of his long sleeves had already been ripped apart. The arm that was exposed turned violently like an electric drill. Buzz, buzz, chi-chi, sparks flew in all directions in the air. At the same time, his other long sleeve instantly expanded to hundreds of feet long, like a black ribbon that pierced through the sky. However, the black ribbon instantly turned into a circle, trapping Han Bingyi and her horse within it. Han Bingyi's thought rapidly formed hand seals. Unfortunately, this was not her true self. There was still a large gap between her and the crow divinity's cultivation level. The purple light on her body suddenly brightened, but the aura she gave off was directly absorbed by the crow divinity's black ribbon. The light from the thought dimmed once again. Whoosh, the Warsoul Horse King spread its wings, trying to break free from the purple ribbon's blockade. However, the black ribbon wrapped around the Warsoul Horse King's forehoof. The warhorse neighed, but it could not gallop. By this time, the crow divinity had arrived. His other arm, which was like an electric drill, was like a spear that shot towards Han Bingyi's thought. At this moment it was impossible for her to dodge. All of this seemed to have been reversed just now. However, that divine sense was not invincible. When she looked again, the thought did not try to dodge. Her eyes flickered with determination and viciousness. Chi-chi. The crow divinity's arm had already penetrated Han Bingyi's thought. Actually, it was an existence of energy without flesh or blood. However, the moment the arm penetrated the thought, boom, that divine will actually self-destructed. Endless air currents spread out like a storm. Han Bingyi's thought and the Warsoul Horse King's thought exploded at the same time. The shockwave was thousands of feet long, like a tsunami. In an instant, with the city of the Undying as the center, the energy spread out like a wave. The city of the Undying, which was already in ruins, was almost reduced to dust. The entire city of the Undying was no longer what it used to be. The city was completely gone. The Undying Kingdom surrounding the city of the Undying was also completely deserted. It could be said that half of the Undying Kingdom had been turned into scorched earth. At that moment, the crow divinity's long sleeve was reduced to dust. Countless cultivators in the Undying Kingdom were instantly killed. Every sect, every nation, and every sect that could survive were the elites of the elite. In the air, the crow divinity revealed his true form. He was originally a wooden man, or rather, a human-shaped piece of wood. However, he was a special existence that possessed spiritual intelligence. The moment Han Bingyi's thought self-destructed, the crow divinity's withered arm curled up slightly. The purple lotus platform that was holding Sumo was already in his arms. At the same time, he blocked all the energy waves that were directed at Yi Wuhui. Of course, with Yi Wuhui's cultivation, even without the protection of the crow divinity, the self-destructing shockwave could not do anything to her. However, Yi Wuhui was indeed seriously injured in this battle. Her back was badly mutilated. She could not even remember when was the last time she was injured. Young mistress, let's go. The crow divinity moved and appeared next to Yi Wuhui. With a wave of his hand, he put on a purple robe. Although the purple robe was incomparable to his original black robe, he could not show his true form to others. The thought was destroyed and sumo was in his hands. Yi Wuhui had accomplished her goal this time. As for the undying kingdom, she would uproot it. In 3 days, no one will be left alive in the undying kingdom. This land, I want it. No one is allowed to take it away since it is already my puppet. Otherwise, I will hunt you down to the ends of the earth. As he said this, Yi Wuhui only glanced at Dongfang Jiu. Dongfang Jiu's expression was calm. She had seen too much survival and destruction in her past life. As for the others, Yi Wuhui did not even bother to look at them. The corpseless sect had taken over the undying kingdom. This would be another puppet kingdom. Whoosh, the crow divinity and Yi Wuhui said no more. They disappeared with Sumo's purple lotus platform. Chapter 372. In the vast and boundless universe, where could one hide? As for what kind of existence Izong world was, perhaps not many cultivators could explain it clearly. Because it was too vast, too mysterious. Therefore, the title Izong is often like the universe in our modern world. It encompasses everything. It contains everything. Naturally, there was no limit to what was hidden. One was hidden in a certain corner of the starry sky. A purple-clothed, long-haired woman was sitting cross-legged on a purple lotus platform. The lotus platform was divided into 3 layers, and each layer had 9 purple petals. It was extremely beautiful. The purple-robed woman sat cross-legged, her eyes slightly closed, like a bodhisattva. She was extremely beautiful, but her expression was slightly cold. At this moment, if one were to look at her from afar, she would look like a god meditating in the vast starry sky. Lonely, but with a hint of cold arrogance. It was none other than Han Bingi. Right now, she was a wandering cultivator in the vast Izong world. This kind of wandering was now her normal state. Because she had always been searching for everything related to the 3 realms in the hidden world. Tens of thousands of years ago, by chance, Han Bing entered the hidden world from the 3 realms. She might have arrived earlier than many people in the 3 realms. That year, there was a change in the 3 realms. Mu fought against the Nether supremacy, then the 9 coffins merged into one, and the karma roulette was dispersed. Amu and Shen Yen boarded the ancient ship and left. There was no more news from them. It was at that moment that Han Bing roamed the 3 realms. Suddenly, she realized that there was a sea, a white mountain, and a lotus in front of her. As such, she spurred her horse forward, directly passing through everything, unexpectedly entering a hidden world. That was beyond the 3 realms. It was another mysterious space and time. From then on, she cultivated in a hidden world, and she could travel freely. For many years, Han Bingi had thought that it was fate's way of consoling her. She had the freedom of time and space. However, what she had been searching for had been fruitless. What she wanted to be with had gradually drifted further and further away. Thus, she gradually forgot her emotions and cultivated the heartless Tao. Ze was heartless. From then on, her cultivation improved by leaps and bounds. On the original immortal realm, he broke through all obstacles. Han Bingi didn't encounter any bottlenecks until she reached original immortal stage 9. Han Bingi was very cautious in the 5th decay realm, and she managed to make it through without any mishap. Eternal realm. In the past, the realm that Han Bingi had thought was unattainable and unreachable, had finally been broken through by her. Of course, in the Izong world, it was called the Rebirth Realm. Eternal life was equal to immortality. Eternal life was equal to reincarnation. Later on, Han Bingi brought out Miao Long from the Star River world. Miao Long became the sunshine and comfort for Han Bingi during her most lonely days. The destruction of the 3 realms galaxy was beyond Han Bingi's expectations. That year, she was homesick and wanted to go back to the Three Realms to take a look. However, the passageway she used to come and go had almost completely collapsed. The passage between the two worlds was about to be sealed. Han Bingi did not manage to enter the Three Realms galaxy completely. She only saw ruins in the distance. The Three Realms galaxy seemed to have become a dead corner of the universe. Han Bingi never knew what had happened back then. Why would the Three Realms, which was said to have entered the age of eternal life, and even the Three Realms that had taken the form of the Milky Way, suddenly be destroyed? Many living beings disappeared from this world. However, in Izong world, she knew that those in the eternal realm could actually reincarnate between worlds. Even if the Milky Way was gone, as long as their obsession did not die, they could be reborn. But she didn't know when and under what conditions they would awaken. Later on, Han Bingi built an ice city. The ice city floated among the worlds like a floating continent. It was called the Northern Chill because it was a memorial to the Northern Chill sect. The Milky Way was destroyed. In theory, no cultivators from the Northern Chill sect or the North Pole deity Ocean could survive. Because none of them were cultivators from the Eternal Realm. They weren't even under the protection of the Eternal Realm. But many of her old friends in the Three Realms should still be there. After all, there were many Eternal Realm cultivators and venerables in the Three Realms. Han Bingi was looking for them. She even hoped that the Northern Chill City would be their refuge. Unfortunately, she didn't meet those real friends in the past 10,000 years. Other than her and Miao Long everyone in the Northern Chill City was from the Izong world. So, she chose to leave the Northern Chill City and wandered around the Izong world. A while ago, she seemed to have sensed a bit of the sacred lotus energy, but it disappeared in the end. It wasn't the first time something like this had happened. The Izong world was too big, and it seemed to be constantly changing. Many things made Han Bingi feel incredulous. At this moment, Han Bingi's closed eyes suddenly opened. That pair of watery eyes was clear and cold. At that moment she sensed danger, because that strand of her divine sense had disappeared. Immediately, Han Bingi's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Who had destroyed her immortal will? Besides, she had left that immortal will for Miao Long to save his life. Han Bingi formed a seal with her hands. Immediately, a water mirror appeared in front of her. The water mirror showed the entire Northern Chill City. The majestic Ice City was still in the northern region of the chaotic gods continent. There was nothing strange about it. The Northern Chill City was fine. As long as Han Bingi wanted to, she could see everything in the Northern Chill City. What happened? Han Bingi frowned. But she also felt a bit more at ease. If the Northern Chill City was fine, then Miao Long should be fine too. When she looked again, the image in the water mirror changed. The central square of the Northern Chill City was suddenly lit up with a dazzling light. It was a teleportation array, a type of rapid teleportation. Han Bingi raised an eyebrow when she saw that. A teleportation array like that was used for rapid teleportation wasn't commonly used in the Northern Chill City. Northern Chill City. The dazzling light startled everyone. The citizens of the Northern Chill City knew what the light meant. The two envoys of the Northern Chill City, Feng and Yu, appeared in the central square. There were 35 cultivators of the Northern Chill City led by Miao Long inside the array. Guan Xiong and the others were in the first group. There were 6 of them. Chen Jianfeng and Guan Xiong were seriously injured, but their lives weren't in danger. Bai Yuexing, Gong Yangkong, Gong Yangqing, and Old Fu were unharmed. The 28 cultivators who went after them didn't even have a chance to attack. Lady everyone. The 2 envoys were a bit relieved when they saw the situation. However, they saw that everyone didn't seem to be in a good mood. Lady, what's going on? Yu Beihan, the envoy of the Northern Chill City, asked. Yu Beihan looked like a middle-aged cultivator, but he was one of the founding members of the Northern Chill City. His real name wasn't Beihan. He changed his name to Yu Beihan when he arrived at the Northern Chill City. He was at the peak of the God-bearing realm, which was the peak of the 9th level. He would be able to reach the world-breaking realm soon. In the entire northern Chill City, Yu Beihan's realm was only below Han Bingi and Miao Long. We encountered a strong enemy in the Undying Kingdom. Miao Longer frowned. We didn't bring Sumo back. Yu Beihan frowned. The enemy that lady mentioned should be at least at the Sea Destruction realm, right? He had a question in his mind, but he didn't say it out loud. A female cultivator of the corpse-less sect. One lifetime immortal realm. Miao Longer heard Yu Beihan's question. One lifetime immortal realm. The cultivators of the northern Chill City were shocked. That was the peak of the immortal realm. However, what Miao Longer said next shocked them even more. Besides, she might have a helper with a higher realm. Miao Longer frowned. That was because she looked at the immortal talisman mark on her palm. At that moment, the mark was slowly disappearing. It meant that the divine sense that her master gave her had been destroyed. One lifetime reincarnation? Immortal realm. Miao Longer sucked in a breath of cold air. Chapter 373. Even though the cultivators had returned to the northern Chill City, their morale was low. Miao Longer looked helpless. Guan Xiong's pale face was even more solemn. Sumo was badly wounded and they couldn't bring her back. The battle with the Undying Kingdom this time could be said to have resulted in heavy casualties, with no gains at all. Corpse-less sect. Miao Longer murmured in her mind. But she wasn't strong enough. The corpse-less sect was a huge and mysterious existence in the Izong world. The northern Chill City didn't know much about the corpse-less sect. In other words, not many cultivators knew about the corpse-less sect. They only knew that it was a powerful sect with countless puppets. We need to think about it carefully. Miao Longer looked at Guan Xiong. She knew that Guan Xiong and Sumo had a special relationship. This time, Guan Xiong was the most upset when the corpse-less sect took Sumo away. Yeah. Guan Xiong nodded and didn't say anything. He couldn't do anything about it. Sumo could only rely on her luck. Emissary Yu, send someone to collect information about the corpse-less sect. The more detailed, the better. If there's a female cultivator called Yu Wuhui, we must pay attention to her. This time, we met her. She's at the 3rd level of the immortal realm. Miao Longer said. Yes. Yu Beihan nodded. Emissary Qi, adjust the route of the northern Chill City and leave the northern chaotic god region for the ancient Shu. If I'm not wrong, there's a branch of the corpse-less sect on the ancient Shu continent, Miao Longer said to Qi Yun. Yes. Qi Yun nodded. The others go back. Everything will be normal. The Elixir Pavilion will take care of Pavilion Master Chen's injuries. Guan Xiong and I will go back to the residence. Miao Longer arranged everything. Gong Yangkong and the others followed the order. Then, Miao Longer's personal maid led Guan Xiong back to Miao Longer's residence. The other people of the northern Chill City left. The corpse-less sect was powerful, but they wouldn't dare to attack the northern Chill City. Therefore, everyone didn't feel like it was dangerous. It was just that this battle was a little frustrating. However, most of them didn't have much of a relationship with Suemo, so they weren't worried. They did not speak along the way. Guan Xiong followed Miao Longer back to the courtyard and sat on a stone chair. His injuries were extremely severe. Miao Longer then asked Guan Xiong, "How do you feel?" An injury to the divine soul was the most fatal. This time, it's your loss. Guan Xiong laughed with a pale face. I'm fine. Are you sure? I'm fine. Hearing Guan Xiong's words, Miao Longer felt somewhat uneasy. Usually, Guan Xiong would say that he was on the brink of death with just a small injury. Now that he was seriously injured, he said that he was fine. Miao Longer turned his hand and took out a red pill from his storage pouch. Soul amassing pill. Guan Xiong raised his eyebrows but did not take it. He knew that the soul-assembling pill was extremely difficult to concoct, and that it was difficult to gather the ingredient. There were no more than 3 soul-gathering pills in the entire northern cold city. No need, Guan Xiong said softly. Miao Longer frowned again. However, he didn't flare up. Instead, he took a deep breath and said, I still have more. Don't worry. Guan Xiong looked at Miao Longer and smiled wryly. Missy, it would be a waste for me to take this pill. It's better to keep it so that it can be treated in the future when someone's divine soul is injured. Guan Xiong, why are you talking so much nonsense today? Miao Longer was slightly angry. However, this anger was different from the usual anger. She could feel that after the battle at the Undying Kingdom, Guan Xiong's mentality seemed to have changed a little. Guan Xiong did not speak, but he did not take Miao Long-er's pill either. Guan Xiong, sumo should be fine. Miao Long-er suppressed his anger and comforted him. This soul-assembling pill is the best pill for you. After you eat it, the injury to your divine soul will be greatly healed. Little Su Zi, you are blessed. Guan Xiong comforted her with a smile and then turned to Miao Long-er and said, Missy, you should keep this pill. I won't stop eating it because of little Su Zi. Miao Long-er looked at Guan Xiong as if she wanted to see through him. She actually knew Guan Xiong's temperament very well. Even though Guan Xiong usually looked lazy and sloppy, he was still able to control himself. However, Miao Long-er knew that Guan Xiong was actually very prideful. Otherwise, with her kindness to Guan Xiong, he would have climbed up the ladder long ago. However, Guan Xiong never did such a thing. This was also the reason why Miao Long-er liked Guan Xiong even more. Did Guan Xiong like Miao Long-er? Of course. Miao Long-er was sure of this. However, Guan Xiong never expressed it or said it. This was a very interesting way of getting along. Even though everyone in the northern Chill City knew it, no one said it out loud. Other than Han Bingyi, no one would ask Miao Long-er about her relationship with Guan Xiong. Why? Do you think that I am not invincible? I will also run away. Miao Long-er looked at Guan Xiong and smiled. She could see through Guan Xiong's thoughts. Guan Xiong still did not speak. Indeed, the battle at the Undying Kingdom had a huge impact on Guan Xiong. In Guan Xiong's heart, Miao Long-er was like a goddess. Since young, Guan Xiong had never seen Miao Long-er lose a battle. Today was the first time. Although Guan Xiong knew there was reincarnation above the Undying level and Miao Long-er was only at the Undying level, he still thought Miao Long-er would never lose. Over the years, he had gotten used to how strong Miao Long-er was. He had gotten used to his own inferiority complex and his own laziness. No matter how hard he tried, it was useless. But today, he understood that there was always a higher mountain. Even someone as strong as Miao Long-er could only run away from Yi Wuhui's female cultivator. Maybe one day, Miao Long-er would be injured or even killed. Guan Xiong did not want to be a burden to anyone. It was better to leave the pill with Miao Long-er. Guan Xiong, I am not invincible. Miao Long-er looked at Guan Xiong and looked gentle. It is not just me. My teacher, Holy Lotus, and even Amu's Genesis Saint. They are not invincible. Miao Long-er gently pulled Guan Xiong's hand and put the Gather Soul pill in his hand. Guan Xiong could not refuse. Then, Miao Long-er smiled. Fatty, I am actually just an ordinary woman. I am not an unreachable mountain. You should learn from my teacher. Learn from the City Lord. Guan Xiong asked. My teacher once knelt on an ice mountain for 100 years for love. Miao Long-er smiled. Knelt on an ice mountain for 100 years? Guan Xiong did not know Han Bingyi's story. Why? For the sake of the vast ocean immortal art. For the sake of being able to stand side by side with the one I love. Miao Long-er's tone became proud. Han Bingyi had always been her pride. In Miao Long-er's eyes, her teacher was better than any woman in the infinite worlds. A man who did not love her simply did not know how to appreciate her. He was not blessed. The city lord knelt on an ice mountain for 100 years for love? Guan Xiong did not dare to believe it. Miss, the city lord cultivates the unfeeling Tao. Heartless heart. Who in our city does not know that Ze is heartless heart? I saw her destroy an entire continent with my own eyes. Hee. Idiot. That's the evil continent. Miao Longer looked at Guan Xiong and smiled. You should understand. Which unfeeling Tao doesn't become infatuated with love? Which heartless heart doesn't become hurt by love? However, can a person really be unfeeling and heartless heart? Miao Longer looked at the vast sky outside the northern Chill City and sighed softly. She knew that her teacher could not. Otherwise, she would not have wandered the world. Guan Xiong, I want to cultivate in seclusion for 100 years. Miao Longer took a deep breath and changed the topic. Then, she blushed and kissed Guan Xiong's cheek. Fatty, I am a woman. I cannot be undefeatable. I still hope that a man can stand tall in front of me. So, you must cultivate well and take care. Then, Miao Longer's white figure flashed and disappeared. In the courtyard, Guan Xiong was dumbfounded, but he immediately tightened his grip on the soul-amassing pill. His heart was surging. Not far away, the servant girl saw everything and couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. Guan Xiong's face instantly turned red. Meanwhile, it was noon in the northern Chill City, full of spring. End of Volume 8. Chapter 374. Most of the time, people were always dreaming all kinds of dreams. It was a mess, and it didn't make sense. Zhuangzhou dreamed of a butterfly, but Zhuangzhou became a butterfly, or the butterfly became Zhuangzhou. Reality and dream, past life and present life, all karma changed and intertwined in time and space. Su Mo felt like he had a very, very long, very, very messy dream. In the dream, there seemed to be old friends but also new people. Who was that woman in black? Why did those roses turn black and red, red and black? Why was there the eternal night and the shattering of the galaxy in the dream? Why did the roses turn into plum blossoms? Why did the plum blossoms wither? Through the 6 rays of light, Su Mo once again saw Bai Shan, Dahai, Jean Lian, and that bewitchingly beautiful black-clothed, long-haired man. That man was smiling. At the same time, many voices echoed in Sumo's mind. Immortals and demons have no form. If I want to, I can be a ghost, a demon, a god or a Buddha. The 3 realms are empty. Beyond the blue sky, Lord Mo asks what karma is on the wheel. Laughing at the 3,000 paths, I tell you, unwilling to be a passerby. Dark Lord, I'm sorry. Because you're 1 step too late. I promise you, I'll make the 3 realms better, and let you rest in eternal peace. Songhai, you're wrong. There won't be a boat at the immeasurable ferry. You'll bring the 3 realms to death. The 3 realms can't be free, but you've been deceived. In the ancient world, there are mountains that are tens of thousands of feet tall, piercing through the clouds. 1 bite of that immortal peach can make one live for 3,600 years. 1 sip of that immortal wine can make a mortal drunk for 360 days. 1 bite of that immortal wine can make a mortal drunk for 360 days. 1 bite of that fairy. It's worth it even if I die. Only when I die in your hands will you remember who I am. Sumo, I want to go home. I want to return to that sea of stars. I want to return to the stars that belong to us. I want to sit under the plum blossom tree with you. You've forgotten everything, but it doesn't matter, I'll make you remember. If 1 life isn't enough, then 2 lives. If 2 lives aren't enough, then 3 lives. If 3 lives aren't enough, then 10 lives. If 10 lives aren't enough, then 100 lives, 1,000 lives. Little junior brother. Little Sumo, help me take out the undead puppet and I will give you the fortune of the undead realm. Sumo, this puppet is for you. Accompanied by ghosts and shadows. May you be safe. His previous life and this life were hazy. Sumo's head hurt, and he felt like his body was empty. That feeling was a bit similar to the first time he saw the ancient ship outside of Peach Blossom Town. It was even more similar to when he was floating on the ocean, and then the countless sounds of the waves rushed into his ears. Whether he listened or not, whether he believed it or not. Xiao Luo, Murong, Sumo, Sumo. In the depths of his soul, a voice called out urgently. Those names were unfamiliar. Who were they calling? His chest felt heavy, as if there was 1,000 catty boulder in it. Sumo felt that she was awake, but she felt as if she was being held down by a ghost, sinking into a deep nightmare. He struggled painfully, but no one woke him up. Hua, the sea shook. Suddenly, a big wave came, splashing directly on Sumo's face, making him feel cold. Sumo's body quivered, then palpitated and woke up with a start. His back was wet. Gongzi is awake. Gongzi is awake. Quickly inform eldest miss. Sumo heard a little girl's surprised voice. Then, he saw a 14 or 15-year-old servant girl standing beside him. He himself was lying on a bed. This was a rather spacious, well-furnished room. Where am I? Sumo's eyes were confused. Who are you? Gongzi Su, you're finally awake, that's great. That servant girl was very excited, as if she had contributed a lot to Sumo's awakening. This is Tianfu City. My name is Xiao Yu, eldest Miss Servant Girl. Huh. Sumo's head still hurt a little. He seemed to be still immersed in the dream, not completely out of it. However, everything in the dream was gradually breaking into pieces, disappearing and dispersing bit by bit. Tianfu City? Sumo's heart skipped a beat, but he wasn't too sure. He had heard of Tianfu City. Legend has it that it was the center of the Pure Land. Above was Tianfu City, and below was the 9 underworlds. Could it be that he was really in Tianfu City? From the chaotic gods' continent to the center of the Pure Land? But how did he get here? Sumo's memory only stopped at the Undying City's heavenly speech palace, where a shocking sword ray suddenly appeared. That was a burial god-level sword. However, Sumo only remembered 6 rays of light, then his heart shook, as if he fell into a deep sleep, a broken dream. He had no memory of what happened after that. At this moment, he had a lot of questions. But, before he could ask, a blue-clothed female cultivator and another servant girl entered the room. The female cultivator wore a blue dress, her face was delicate, and her appearance was extremely beautiful. It was none other than Yi Wuhui. Miss Yi. Sumo's eyes lit up. After parting in the undying Shiliang County, he finally saw Yi Wuhui again. Previously, he was worried that Yi Wuhui had met with an accident. But now, it seemed that Yi Wuhui was fine. Sumo, you're awake. How do you feel? Yi Wuhui also revealed a happy expression, and asked with concern. Yes. It's just a bit of a headache. Miss Yi, where is this place? Why am I here? Sumo asked. This is Tianfu City. Yi Wuhui smiled. Tianfu City? It really is Tianfu City. The Tianfu City of the Pure Land? Sumo exclaimed. That's right. Yi Wuhui smiled. This is my sect. In the Pure Land there is Tianfu City above, and the 9 underworlds below. And Tianfu City is my sect. Under the firmament and above all living beings. Sumo sighed. You are actually from Tianfu City? Yi Wuhui pursed his lips and smiled. Why? Am I not qualified to be a person from Tianfu City? Oh, of course not. Sumo shook her head. You are at the one lifetime immortal realm. I heard that the cultivators in Tianfu City are only at the breaking realm. Because once they reach the late stage of the breaking realm, they can step through the void and enter another time and space. One lifetime immortal realm. When Yi Wuhui heard Sumo say that he was at the one lifetime immortal realm, he frowned imperceptibly. Our big miss, of course, can travel between realms. Tianfu City is just her temporary residence. The young maid who came in with Yi Wuhui interrupted. Sumo nodded, then asked, Miss Yi, then why am I here? How did you meet me? How is the matter of the undying nation? Hearing this, Yi Wuhui couldn't help but frown slightly, then he sighed and said, It's a long story. Sumo, actually, you have been in a coma for nearly 3 years. 3 years? Sumo was surprised. 3 years in a dream? Why was she always like this? Sumo felt a little speechless, but fortunately, it was not 1,000 years this time. 3 years ago, I saved you near the undying nation of the chaotic gods continent. At that time, your soul was injured and you were on the verge of death. Fortunately, you are awake now. Yi Wuhui smiled gently at Sumo. Chapter 375. His soul was damaged, and he was dying. After listening to Yi Wuhui, Sumo frowned. What had happened in the Undying Kingdom? Sumo knew that even if the Undying Kingdom had a god-burying cultivator, they would not have been able to defeat Northern Chill City. Miao Long-er had completed the Break World. He could have defeated the Pure Land. But why was his soul injured and on the verge of death? At this time, Sumo was using the Never Wither spell. His body was healed. But Sumo felt his soul had been damaged. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had a headache. What about the other people in Northern Chill City? Sumo asked. Huh? Well. Yi Wuhui looked at Sumo. He wanted to say something, but he didn't. It seemed he was hesitating whether or not he should tell Sumo. What is it? Sumo asked. Sumo, what is your relationship with Northern Chill City? Yi Wuhui frowned. Huh. Sumo was shocked, but she quickly answered. That day, I helped you get the 3-inch doll in Siyun Villa. I startled the puppets in the villa. After I escaped, I accidentally entered Damin County of the Undying Kingdom. I was chased by the Dongfang family. Lady Miao of Northern Chill City saved me. My friend Guan Xiong was in the city. Sumo kept it simple. She didn't go into too many details. Guan Xiong? Yi Wuhui asked. Yes. Guan Xiong, Sumo said. I asked you to help me find him. Did you forget? One of the reasons I came to the Chaos Gods continent was to find him. Of course I didn't forget. Yi Wuhui smiled. I just didn't expect Guan Xiong to be from Northern Chill City. I don't think Northern Chill City has a simple background. Lady Yi, when you saved me, did you not meet anyone from Northern Chill City? Sumo frowned. No. Yi Wuhui smiled bitterly, then said hesitantly, Sumo, when I saved you, the entire undead city was already in ruins. Half of the Undying Kingdom has become a wasteland. What? Sumo was stunned. That day, the Undying Kingdom had a Burying God class and a Break World class fight. Yi Wuhui frowned. The Undying Kingdom has Break World cultivators? Sumo asked. No. Yi Wuhui shook his head helplessly. However, the Dongfang clan has a Samsara traveler of the 3 realms. 3 realms reincarnator. Sumo was stunned. That's right. The 3 realms reincarnators were usually eternal realm cultivators of the 3 realms in their previous lives. They were reincarnated into a hidden world. As for the 3 realms, it was a space-time outside of the Yizong realm. Of course, some people call it the Galaxy World. 3 realms. Galaxy World? Sumo's heart jumped, but she did not show it. The Dongfang clan's most famous 9th princess is called Dongfang Jie. When she was in the 3 realms, she was called Dongfang Huan. When Yi Wuhui was talking, he looked at Sumo seriously, but Sumo did not react. He really did not know about those people. When I arrived in the Undying Kingdom, the big fight was already over. I did not see it with my own eyes. I only heard from the Undying Kingdom cultivators what happened that day. You and Dongfang Huan had a big fight, Yi Wuhui said. I had a big fight with Dongfang Huan? Sumo was shocked. She thought it was unbelievable. How come I don't remember? Because, at that time, you might not be you anymore. Yi Wuhui frowned. Sumo, the cultivators of the undying kingdom said that day, you went berserk. You almost became a demon. You were riding a black boat and you were surrounded by black roses. Devil Chi was everywhere. Although Dongfang Huan had the battle power of the burying god realm, he was not your opponent. Black boat, roses. Sumo's heart jumped. Those were indeed her things. Before, Yi Wuhui did not know. So, that should be the real situation. The level of your fight was even higher than the burying god realm. Later, the eldest daughter of the northern Chill City arrived. But, she could not completely suppress you. It was said that because the eldest daughter of the northern Chill City did not want to hurt you, she was hurt by you. In the end, they had no choice but to leave. But in the end, your devil chi dispersed and you fell into the void. The cultivators of the undying kingdom could not do anything to you. Just in time I arrived. That's why I brought you back to the Tianfu city to heal. Unfortunately, you were injured too badly. You were unconscious and sometimes you talked nonsense. Even though I thought of many ways, you did not wake up. Today you finally woke up. Yi Wuhui let out a long breath. In the past 3 years, she had been waiting for Sumo to wake up. What about Guan Xiong and the others? Sumo asked. They should have returned to the northern Chill City. I did not see them. I heard from the cultivators of the undying kingdom that the northern Chill City is in the northern sky region of the chaotic god's mainland. But I went to look for it and there was no sign of it. Sumo, you have just woken up and your divine soul has not recovered yet. Don't think too much. There must have been some misunderstanding between you and the northern Chill City during the battle of the undying kingdom. We need to think about it carefully. Yes. Sumo nodded. Sumo, do you really not remember anything about the 3 realms? You should be a reincarnator of the 3 realms. Otherwise, you would not have known Dongfang Huan. You must have been very powerful. No. Sumo frowned and shook her head. He was a reincarnator too. In fact, Sumo had a feeling about that. Because that would explain a lot of things. Back then, Mu Jinghong had said many things that she did not understand. If he was a reincarnator of the 3 realms, then everything could be explained. But Sumo really did not know who she was. The conditions for every reincarnator to awaken are different. Yi Wuhui nodded, feeling a little disappointed. At this time, someone transmitted his voice. Eldest Miss, young Master Bu has an urgent matter to ask you to go to the 5-color Divine Palace. Got it. Yi Wuhui was a little displeased, then said to Sumo, Sumo, rest well. I will be back soon. You do not need to worry about anything here. Yes. Sumo actually wanted to say more, but seeing that Yi Wuhui was busy, she did not ask any more. Take good care of young Master Su. Yi Wuhui instructed the 2 young maids. Then, he turned around and left the house. In fact, the place where Sumo was at was a garden. In the yard, there were strange flowers and plants, and the scenery was very beautiful. The yard was not big. If one paid attention, they would find that the yard was covered with strange runes. When Yi Wuhui left the yard, his face turned slightly cold. It was as if he was a different person from when he was talking to Sumo. At the entrance of the yard, there were 2 cultivators in black guarding. Guard well, if anything goes wrong, you will be thrown out of Tianfu City. Yi Wuhui's tone was cold. Eldest Miss, rest assured. The 2 cultivators in black hurriedly replied respectfully. Yi Wuhui looked back at the yard, and the corner of his mouth curved coldly. On the board of the yard, there were 2 ancient characters, Puppet Raising Garden. Chapter 376. The 5-colored Divine Palace was located in the west of Tianfu City. It was a group of buildings. It was made up of 5 palaces of different colors. The east, west, south, and north palaces were respectively green, white, red, and black. The one in the middle was a golden main palace. The palace was divided into 5 colors, which were the 5 colors of the 5-colored divine soil. The The Garden of Repentance was not too far from the five-colored Divine Palace. Yi Wuhui left the Garden of Repentance and appeared outside the golden main palace of the five-colored Divine Palace. The palace was dozens of feet tall. It shone with golden light and runes swirled around it. The five-colored Divine Palace was a landmark of Tianfu City. The entire five-colored Divine Palace seemed to be unguarded, but Yi Wuhui knew that it was because he was the one entering and leaving. Otherwise, if someone else were to appear here, they would have been blocked outside the palace, or even killed. The golden doors slowly opened. Yi Wuhui stepped into the golden main palace. The main palace was dazzling with gold and jade. The stone pillars on both sides were as thick as a person's arm. All kinds of strange beasts were carved on them, each bearing their fangs and brandishing their claws. The walls of the main palace were inlaid with many golden gems, causing the entire hall to emit golden light. And in the middle of the main palace was a high platform. Although there were only 7 steps, each step was 3 feet tall. On the high platform there was a black wooden chair. It had the faint aura of a king. However, the huge palace was empty. There was not a single person in sight. Yi Wuhui's expression was calm. She walked up the high platform step by step, and then very naturally sat on the black chair. Because that was originally her seat. There was no such thing as young Master Bu inviting her to sit. Everything that happened just now was just arranged beforehand. She did not want to spend too much time in front of Sumo. Because the more she spoke, the more likely it was to slip up. She did not think that Sumo was an idiot, so there was a high chance that she would make a mistake in front of Sumo. Once she was suspected, it would not be easy to get the 3-inch puppet. It was because of this concern that she did not immediately ask for the 3-inch puppet. She didn't know what the conditions were in exchange for the 3-inch doll. Yi Wuhui absolutely did not believe that Sumo risked her life to enter Siyun Manor to get the doll for free. Unfortunately, she couldn't open Sumo's ragged bag. Everything had to be done slowly. Sumo was in her hands, so she was not in a hurry. Yi Wuhui sat on the big black chair, his face slightly solemn as he pondered for a moment. Then, she waved her hand lightly. On the left side of the high platform, a wave of spiritual energy fluctuated. There seemed to be a small teleportation formation there. Looking again, a golden-robed figure slowly appeared. The golden robe was of the same style and material as the purple robe of the puppet from before, but the color was different. "Subordinate Jean and greets your highness." The golden-robed man's voice was very loud, and he had already knelt down on one knee. Yi Wuhui nodded. No need to be so polite. The golden-robed man stood up slowly, but he still bowed slightly. It seemed that he didn't dare to show the slightest bit of disrespect to Yi Wuhui. Moreover, that kind of reverence was already deep in his bones. "Jinan, I asked you to investigate Sumo's 3 golden-robed puppets. Is there any progress?" Yi Wuhui asked. "In reply to your highness, there is progress," Jinan replied. "Speak." "Those 3 puppets came from the Chaotic Gods Continent's Ghost City's Pavilion of Living Beings," Jinan replied. "Pavilion of Living Beings?" Yi Wuhui frowned and sneered. "All living beings, thousands of people, thousands of faces, but only one true soul. Understanding the great Tao, one joy and one sorrow, don't forget the karma of the past. Am I right?" "That's right. It's the Ghost City's Pavilion of Living Beings." Jinan bowed even lower. Because he didn't dare to rashly evaluate the Ghost City's Pavilion of Living Beings. "Humph." Yi Wuhui snorted. Of course he understood Jinan's concerns. "Jinan, the Ghost City's Pavilion of Living Beings is my senior brother's small store. Could it be that those 3 puppets were released by him? If you know anything, feel free to say it." "Huh." Jinan hesitated, but immediately said, "In reply to your highness, Prince Bu has thousands of clones. Back then, he did leave a strand of his will in the Ghost City's Pavilion of Living Beings. However, he's long gone." He's gone after giving away the puppets?" Yi Wuhui sneered. This subordinate doesn't know, but those 3 puppets were only replicas at the time. They were only deity tribulation level puppets. They were not good enough. Not good enough. Yi Wuhui sneered. In all the realms, who dares to say that Bu Xiyun's puppets are not good enough? That would be a huge mistake. He has already received the true teachings of ghost genius. This subordinate is slow-witted. Jean unhurriedly said. The soulless Taoist puppet, even if it's a replica, I'm afraid it's full of wonders and secrets. Otherwise, how could they kill my 7 ultimate fire god? Yi Wuhui raised his eyebrows, muttering to himself, a replica of the soulless Taoist puppet can actually kill my resurrected puppets. It's simply inconceivable. One must know that the 7 ultimate fire god is also a resurrected puppet of the soulless Taoist puppet. Jean nodded, knowing that it was not the right time to speak. But Sumo's 3 replicas seem to have the primordial golden body. This is too inconceivable. Yi Wuhui frowned again. Can Bu Xiyun really create such puppets? Obviously, Yi Wuhui did not believe it, because, even if Bu Xiyun had the ability, she still needed materials. The 5-colored divine soil or higher-grade materials should not be able to create the golden body. In that case, the problem should lie with Sumo. After all, those 3 puppets were Sumo's now. However, Yi Wuhui really did not understand how an undead realm cultivator could improve a god-burying puppet. Yi Wuhui's expression kept changing, but he did not understand everything. Jean kept his head lowered and did not speak. After a while, Yi Wuhui seemed to finally realize that Jean was still listening to his orders, so he asked again, "How is 9 Nether City recently? There are no unusual movements." Jean replied, "The sea of bitterness is calm. 9 Nether City has been stable for tens of thousands of years, so there should not be any sudden waves. It might not have been in the past, but it might not be the case now." Yi Wuhui's beautiful eyes narrowed slightly. "Jean, you must pay attention to 9 Nether's movements." "Yes." Jean did not dare to ask any more questions. "Also, if there is any movement on my senior brother's side, you must immediately inform me." Yi Wuhui's tone became a bit heavier. "Jean, you belong to the 5-colored divine palace. Understand?" "This subordinate understands. I am only loyal to Her Highness." Jean knelt on one knee. "Then this subordinate will take his leave." Yi Wuhui nodded. When he looked again, the light of a formation rose where Jean was, and then he disappeared. Yi Wuhui leaned back on the big chair, and slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Everything was a bit chaotic. Then, she held up a hand. A water mirror appeared in her palm. Then, a blue-clothed woman appeared in the water mirror. That woman looked exactly like Yi Wuhui, but there was a string of purple wind chimes hanging on her arm. Her eyes were gentler and clearer. That was also Yi Wuhui. "Good sister, in the entire Pure Land, unless you escape to 9 Nether City, I will definitely find you. Sumo is now in my hands. You will not be able to get the 3-inch puppet." Yi Wuhui's mouth curved into a ghostly smile. Chapter 377. Guilt Garden. After Yi Wuhui left, Sumo lay on the bed and closed his eyes to rest, as if he had fallen asleep again. His godly soul was injured. Even if he had woken up, he still needed to rest. Therefore, he closed his eyes and did not say a word. This was a very normal thing. The 2 young maidservants who stayed behind to take care of him tactfully left the room. But Sumo did not actually fall asleep. 3 years. He had slept long enough. If there was anything that Sumo lacked the least, it must be sleep. In the past, he was drunk for 1,000 years. At this moment, his mind was a little troubled. It was an indescribable kind of annoyance. It was somewhat inexplicable and somewhat depressing. A dream of 3 years. This matter was something that Sumo could accept. After all, a godly soul injury was definitely not easy to heal. To be able to repair his godly soul in 3 years was already considered a blessing in disguise. However, Sumo always felt a strange and inexplicable feeling. Tianfu City? Yi Wuhui's sect? All of this was a little sudden, and even made Sumo a little puzzled. This was because when Yi Wuhui asked Sumo to enter Siun Villa to retrieve the 3-inch puppet, he once said, "That is my home." Sumo still remembered the deep melancholy on Yi Wuhui's face when he said that. Siun Villa was his home. That kind of expression used to make Sumo very moved. However, now Yi Wuhui actually said that his sect was Tianfu City. Before this, Yi Wuhui had never mentioned it. Under the firmament, above all living beings. Moreover, from everything that happened just now, Yi Wuhui's status in Tianfu City was not low. This point always made Sumo feel that it was very inconsistent with the Yi Wuhui of the past. The most important point was that Sumo could not feel the feeling of the past from Yi Wuhui. Of course, this was just a baseless feeling. Back then, Yi Wuhui made Sumo feel very gentle, and even had a natural sense of closeness and protectiveness. However, although the current Yi Wuhui was still gentle and warm towards Sumo, Sumo always felt that there was a kind of sharpness hidden in her. That kind of gentleness and passion was somewhat deliberate. There seemed to be no natural intimacy between Sumo and Yi Wuhui. Sumo smiled bitterly in her heart. Maybe people would change. After all, he and Yi Wuhui weren't exactly sworn brothers. Back then, when he agreed to let Yi Wuhui enter the Siun Manor, he still had conditions. Of those conditions, except for the undead realm's good fortune, Yi Wuhui fulfilled the rest. Yi Wuhui kept his word. However, Yi Wuhui didn't mention anything about the 3-inch puppet just now. On this point, Sumo also felt a little strange. Based on the situation and sense of urgency between him and Yi Wuhui, when Yi Wuhui saw Sumo, the first thing he would ask was about the 3-inch puppet. In front of Sumo, Yi Wuhui had always been straightforward and did not have too many scruples. What's more, she was so eager for the 3-inch puppet. Sumo secretly raised his eyebrows, and his heart was full of doubts. He spread out his divine sense and first checked all the items on him. Sumo actually had a storage bag on her, but his storage bag was also filled with a ragged bag. Previously, Sumo put all the things in the storage bag, but later, he put all the important things that were qualified to be put in the ragged bag. In the storage bag, in addition to the commonly used broken bamboo poles, there were some miscellaneous things that were not high level for Sumo at present, medicinal pills, and so on. Of course, there were also about 10,000 best quality spirit coins. In fact, these things were already worth a lot. However, the magic treasures above the divine tribulation realm, the puppet, the skeleton, the red dust ancient fan, the soul-concealing cauldron, the black boat, the black rose, and the dust sieve sutra were all in the ragged bag. Even the dragon elephant soul-devouring beast and the black feather deity were in that space, because it was absolutely safe in the ragged bag. The 3-inch puppet was also in a corner of the ragged bag, not moving at all. Suemo looked around and found that nothing was missing. He felt slightly relieved. Maybe I'm a little paranoid, Sumo thought to himself. His divine soul was injured, and he was in a coma for 3 years. If he wanted something on his body, he would have taken it long ago. At this time, Sumo felt that his head was no longer painful, and those dreams and calls just now had completely disappeared. Everything was really like a dream, and gradually there was no trace of it. After calming down, Sumo sat up. He had fully recovered. So, Sumo got out of bed and did some simple exercises. His whole body was normal. Looking around the room, Sumo felt that maybe she should leave Tianfu City earlier. Giving the 3-inch puppet to Yi Wuhui would be the end of everything for now. This was just a kind of instinct of Sumo. Young Master Su, you're up. Do you feel much better? As soon as Sumo got up, the maid named Xiao Yu pushed the door open and came in. She was holding a tray in her hand with a big covered bowl on it, a soup bowl, and a porcelain spoon next to it. Just in time, this is the freshly brewed soup. Young Master Su, drink it while it's hot. Xiao Yu put down the tray, filled a bowl with soup, and put it in front of Sumo. This is good stuff. It's the ingredient that First Miss chose personally. It's the best for the recovery of the soul. Xiao Yu had red lips, white teeth, and bright eyes. She looked very likable. Oh, then I'll try it. Sumo smiled and took the soup bowl. The soup was green and looked very delicious. Sumo first tasted it. It's delicious. It's delicious, right? I made the soup myself. Xiao Yu looked very proud. Good skill. Sumo praised. Then, he didn't stand on ceremony and drank the whole bowl of soup. The soup did have a very magical effect. After drinking it, Sumo felt that her ears and eyes were sharp, and her soul was clear. However, Sumo suddenly found that her soul could not go out of the courtyard. It seemed that the courtyard was imprisoned by a mysterious force. Thank you, Miss Xiao Yu, Sumo said. Young master, you're welcome. In a while, our first miss will come and accompany you. Xiao Yu pursed her lips and smiled. Then, she cleaned up the soup bowl and went out. Sumo frowned and thought for a moment. Then, she thought of something. Humph! The little white pig jumped out of the ragged bag. The space inside the ragged bag was completely different from the outside. Inside the ragged bag, the little white pig didn't have much concept of time. It felt that it was out after sleeping for a while, so of course it was very happy. However, the little fellow immediately found that this was not Northern Chill City. Humph! The little white pig's round eyes rolled around, and then looked at Sumo. This is Tianfu City. Under the sky, above all living beings, the first holy land of the Pure Land. Sumo looked at the little white pig and said, Humph! The little white pig snorted, as if it didn't care at all. What haven't I, the dragon elephant soul-eating beast, seen? With that, the little white pig didn't care about those things, and directly jumped out of the house. It had finally come out, so it had to go out and play. Seeing the little white pig leave, Sumo's lips curled into a smile and he followed it out. This was also the reason why Sumo released the little white pig. Whoosh! In the courtyard, the little white pig ran happily. However, the courtyard was not big. The little white pig rushed into the sky, and was about to rush out of the courtyard. However, at that moment, a white light suddenly emitted from the courtyard wall. A barrier. The little white pig was directly blocked in the courtyard. Sumo raised an eyebrow. At that moment, the courtyard door opened, and Yi Wuhui came in leisurely with a smile on his face. Chapter 378. Bang! With a flash of white light, the little white pig was directly thrown back into the courtyard. The little fellow looked very wronged. What the hell is this place? Could it be that I'm not allowed to jump around? However, at this time, Yi Wuhui walked in. Dracophant's soul-devouring beast? Yi Wuhui was slightly stunned at first, then immediately smiled and said, Sumo, you actually have such a cute little fellow? Humph! The little white pig looked at Yi Wuhui, faintly revealing a kind of vigilance. It just likes to run around, probably because it slept for too long. Sumo's expression was normal, but her heart was cold. Because Yi Wuhui had seen the little white pig before, he shouldn't have said that just now. Moreover, with the intelligence of the little white pig, it would definitely not be vigilant against Yi Wuhui. The pure bloodline of the three mythological beasts of the Pure Land is already extremely rare. Yi Wuhui smiled at the little white pig, then very naturally said, Little fellow, this courtyard is surrounded by enchantments. If you want to go out, you can only go through the front door or I agree. Yi Wuhui gently waved his hand, seemingly wanting to tease the little white pig. However, the little white pig directly jumped back into Sumo's arms. Humph! The little white pig snorted twice. That was a sound that only Sumo could understand. Sumo smiled as she patted the little white pig's butt, put it back into the ragged bag, and apologized to Yi Wuhui. This little fellow might be a little afraid of strangers. Yi Wuhui smiled, naturally not taking it to heart. Sumo, do you feel much better? I let Xiao Yu prepare some refreshing soup for you. Much better. Sumo nodded. Thank you for personally choosing the ingredients. Xiao Yu's cooking is also not bad. After drinking that soup, I feel refreshed. That's good. An imperceptible smile flashed across Yi Wuhui's eyes. Sumo, the injury to your divine soul can be said to have healed. It should be fine. It's all thanks to Miss Ye's care these past 3 years. Sumo, I really have no way to repay you. Sumo bowed slightly to Yi Wuhui and cupped her fist. This is nothing. Yi Wuhui sighed. Back then, you helped me go deep into Siyun Villa to retrieve the 3-inch puppet. It could be said to be a narrow escape from death. In fact, I owe you a huge favor. Miss Yi, what are you talking about? Sumo shook her head. In the beginning, we got to know each other and hit it off. You helped me kill my enemies and saved my life. At the same time, you gave me the immortal pill. I was the one who was willing to enter Siyun Manor to help Miss Yi. No matter how you look at it, it seems that we are estranged from each other. That's true. Let's forget about it. Yi Wuhui smiled gently at Sumo. However, at this time, Sumo's heart was extremely shocked, because his words were half true and half false. If it was really Yi Wuhui, he would definitely be able to hear the problem. How could he kill his enemies and save his life? How could he be willing? In the beginning, the biggest reason why Sumo agreed to Yi Wuhui was that Yi Wuhui's conditions were extremely tempting. The immortal pill, the phantom soul technique, the undead puppet, and the good fortune of the undead realm. Such conditions made Sumo, who was at the deity tribulation stage, unable to refuse. However, the Yi Wuhui in front of her seemed to know nothing about it. Her answer simply could not connect with Sumo's words. She was not Yi Wuhui. Sumo was already sure in her heart. Just now, the little white pig also felt that this Yi Wuhui was hiding an extremely dangerous aura. Even the little white pig could conclude that it was not the original Yi Wuhui. Who was she? How could she be exactly the same as Yi Wuhui? If it weren't for Sumo's intention to probe, he wouldn't have discovered that the Yi Wuhui in front of him was different from the original. They were the same person. Even if they were twin sisters, it was impossible to be like this. To be honest, Sumo originally explained the change in her feelings towards Yi Wuhui with the reason that people's hearts would change. However, no matter how people's hearts changed, they couldn't change their memories. Mirror image? Doppelganger? Sumo's thoughts turned sharply, but she couldn't explain why there were 2 Yi Wuhui. All of this should be beyond his understanding. Sumo, what's wrong with you? Yi Wuhui was very sensitive to Sumo's change. I have a headache. I've been dreaming non-stop for 3 years. Just now I was in a trance for a moment. Sumo pretended to frown. What kind of dream? Yi Wuhui asked. Could it be that Sumo would awaken because of this? Yi Wuhui didn't know who Sumo was in her previous life. However, he knew that once Sumo awakened, it would be even more difficult to control her. I'm not sure. In the dream, it's more chaotic. There are all kinds of characters and voices. It's impossible to sort it out. Moreover, when I wake up from the dream, I can't remember anything. Sumo's words were true. In fact, Sumo wanted to use this to change the topic. Sumo, you have to pay more attention to this kind of change in yourself. A reincarnator needs an opportunity to awaken. Yi Wuhui's words were also sincere. However, she immediately changed the topic. Sumo, can you give me that 3-inch puppet? Right now, I really need it. Yi Wuhui looked embarrassed. Huh. Sumo hesitated. What's wrong? Yi Wuhui asked hurriedly. Is there something wrong? That 3-inch puppet isn't with me now. Sumo smiled helplessly. Not with you? Yi Wuhui was surprised. Yes. Sumo nodded. I left it in northern Chill City. When the Dongfang clan was chasing me, I was seriously injured. Miss Meow of northern Chill City saved me. You didn't show up, so I left the puppet with Miss Meow. I think it's safer that way. Oh! Yi Wuhui listened to Sumo's words and smiled faintly. How did you find out, Sumo? What? Sumo was stunned. How did you find out that I'm not the Yi Wuhui you know? Yi Wuhui's face gradually turned cold. Her face was murderous, as cold as snow. That was her real self. At this moment, Sumo's face also changed. She knew that the other party had decided to stop acting. Who are you? Sumo asked in a low voice. Of course I'm Yi Wuhui. Yi Wuhui sneered. The real one. But the Yi Wuhui I know isn't you. Sumo said. Yi Wuhui looked at Sumo and shook his head. The Yi Wuhui you know is using my name. She can only be regarded as a shadow of mine. I'm the real Yi Wuhui. Yi Wuhui's mouth curved and he smiled wickedly. She must have seen that little white pig before. Also, there should be a flaw in my previous answers. It seems that you felt that there was something wrong with me after you woke up, right? You and that slut really have a telepathic connection. But don't lie to me that the 3-inch puppet isn't with you. How could you not carry such a thing with you? Open the tattered cloth bag in your storage bag. Otherwise, I'll kill you right now. Yi Wuhui's voice was already very cold. Since the impersonation failed, Yi Wuhui could only use force. Sumo definitely couldn't escape from his back. And with Yi Wuhui's means, he could make Sumo beg for death. But at this moment, Sumo's figure had already moved. Of course, she didn't rush towards Yi Wuhui, but jumped towards the left. Yi Wuhui's mouth curved. Sumo definitely couldn't leave this courtyard. She couldn't escape even if she had wings. There was a reincarnation level restriction in this courtyard. But the next moment Yi Wuhui's face suddenly changed. Chapter 379. The Garden of Guilt was the place where Yi Wuhui cultivated high-level puppets. It could be said that most of her high-level puppets came from the Garden of Guilt. Yi Wuhui was at the one-lifetime immortal realm. The strongest of her puppets could even reach the Sea Destroyer great perfection. In order to be absolutely safe, the barriers around the Garden of Guilt were all reincarnation level. Not to mention Sumo, even Yi Wuhui himself could not escape if he tried to force his way out. This Garden of Guilt could be said to be the #1 cage in Tianfu City. Yi Wuhui arranged for Sumo to stay here, and there were guards inside and outside. In any case, Yi Wuhui did not think that Sumo, who was at the middle stage undead realm, could escape the Garden of Guilt. Moreover, it was right under her nose. Just now, when Sumo made a move, Yi Wuhui did not move at all. Therefore, this gave Sumo a chance to escape. Yi Wuhui saw Sumo disappear before his eyes. That's right. She disappeared into thin air. Sumo's movement was just to jump to his left, and then she disappeared. This was truly unimaginable. Yi Wuhui instantly spread out his divine sense. Every blade of grass and every tree in the Garden of Guilt was under his divine sense. However, where was the slightest bit of Sumo's aura? Yi Wuhui raised his eyebrows, jumped out of the garden, and floated in midair, his divine sense spread out. However, not only was there no trace of Sumo in the Garden of Guilt, there was no trace of Sumo in the entire Tianfu City. Sumo had already escaped from Tianfu City. At that moment, Yi Wuhui suddenly remembered that Sumo had been besieged by puppets in Siyun Villa, but she had escaped unscathed. Even Granny Qing Ye's world-breaking spell could not stop her. This time, Yi Wuhui was careless. Space-time spell. Yi Wuhui's expression was extremely ugly. Sumo was just a puny undead realm cultivator. How could she know such a technique? One must know that the true space-time technique was at the reincarnation level. Even now, Yi Wuhui only knew a little about it. However, Sumo actually escaped with the help of space-time magic. What spell was that? Yi Wuhui returned to Gilt Garden and looked at the place where Sumo had disappeared. He frowned and pondered. There were many powerful beings in the hidden world. However, the Pure Land world was only a remote corner. Apart from the corpse-less sect, the most powerful place was the Netherworld city. However, Yi Wuhui firmly believed that even the most powerful cultivators in Juyo City didn't know that kind of space-time magic. If they really had the ability, they would have attacked Tianfu City long ago. Therefore, it was impossible for Sumo to learn the space-time magic of the hidden world. Three Realms Technique. Yi Wuhui's frown deepened. She had heard of an omnipotent space-time footwork, Heavenly Fox Steps. According to legend, it was the top-secret technique of the Snow Shadow, the Demon Lord of the Three Realms. However, apart from the Demon Lord, only the Holy Father Amu knew that footwork. Impossible. Yi Wuhui immediately denied his own thoughts and shook his head in self-mockery. In fact, there was more than one kind of space-time magic. Even if Sumo was a reincarnator, it was impossible for her to be related to the Holy Father Amu. However, what if they were really related? Thinking of this, Yi Wuhui was stunned for a moment. However, he immediately smiled faintly and muttered to himself, "Some people have to meet and fight." At this moment, the maid, Xiao Yu, walked over with a confused look in her eyes. "Eldest miss, where is young Master Su?" "He escaped." Yi Wuhui had already calmed down. "Escaped?" Xiao Yu was stunned. "That's right." Yi Wuhui looked at Xiao Yu. "It's hard to imagine, right? He escaped right under my nose. He should know space-time escape technique. What a surprise. What a pity, we took care of him for 3 years and he disappeared as soon as he woke up." Xiao Yu sighed helplessly. However, she immediately smiled and said, "However, eldest miss, he drank our refreshing soup." "He?" "Yes, if you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten." Yi Wuhui smiled. "Fortunately, you are smart. Otherwise, once I arrived and he realized that I was not the Yi Wuhui he knew, he might not have drunk that bowl of soup. In the future, he will definitely be a good puppet," Xiao Yu said sincerely with a sweet smile. She still looked like the girl next door. "Definitely." Yi Wuhui's lips curled into a strange smile. "Sumo, no matter where you escape to, don't forget that you drank my bowl of soup." The space-time changed and the footsteps did not stop. When Sumo confirmed that Yi Wuhui was not Yi Wuhui, she thought of the only way to escape. That was to use her mystical footwork to escape back to the soul-storing altar cave. Otherwise, with her realm, she would not stand a chance against the eternal immortal. Actually, it was very risky just now. If Yi Wuhui was prepared, then Sumo would not even have the chance to take that step. The difference in realm was too big. Sumo did not stop. 49 steps were completed in one breath. The eternal immortal. That was an existence that Sumo could only dream of but not reach. He did not even know how powerful Yi Wuhui was and whether he would directly break through space-time to chase after him. So, Sumo ran with all her might in space-time. Until Sumo's body landed in the soul-storing altar cave. The surroundings were red and the candlelight on the wall flickered. Only then did Sumo feel relief. Finally, she returned to the cave. If it really was one step, one time, then she should be able to escape from Yi Wuhui's pursuit. Once, Sumo felt that the 49 red lights on the soul-storing altar cave were poignant and strange. But now, she felt a sense of familiarity. Sumo stood in the cave and tried to adjust her breathing. She was too nervous just now. Then, she released the little white pig. After all, this was the little white pig's home. Humph! The little white pig who just came out was still cautious. But when he saw that this was the soul-storing altar cave, he was overjoyed. Humph, your senses are right. That female cultivator is not Yi Wuhui. Let's hide here for now. We won't be able to get out for a while, Sumo said helplessly. Because there was one disadvantage of coming here. If she wanted to leave, she could only go back to where she entered. In other words, if Sumo wanted to leave the soul-storing altar cave, the Garden of Repentance would be the entrance. Of course, Yuwuhue didn't know this. So, Sumo still had a chance. However, if Sumo escaped back to Tianfu City, it was hard to say if she could enter the soul-storing altar cave again. Sumo smiled bitterly. Everything had to be considered at length. However, escaping from someone else's cage and returning to his own cage was at least comfortable. There was nothing lacking in the soul-storing altar cave. If she was willing, Sumo could stay here for hundreds or thousands of years and cultivate until she was immortal. Then, she could rush out of Tianfu City. Thinking of this last option, Sumo couldn't help but laugh. If she got out, Yuwuhue was a rebirth Almighty One. He could kill her with one slap. It seemed like she had to find a way to get out as soon as possible. As her thoughts ran wild, Sumo looked inside the soul-storing altar cave. There was almost no change. The green urn was still there. This was probably the biggest secret in the cave. However, Sumo couldn't open it. So, he passed through the front cave and went straight to the flower valley in the back cave. Chapter 380. In the flower valley of the back cave. When Suemo arrived, he found that nothing had changed. The only change was that the immortal grasses and spirit medicines grew more luxuriant. There were more fruits on the immortal trees. HNG had already arrived here before them. However, the little guy could only stick out its tongue under the red fruit tree. It couldn't pick any fruit to eat. Sumo smiled. Anyway, the fruit seemed to have matured a lot. Thus, Suemo waved his hand and plucked 3 of them for the little white pig. That guy didn't stand on ceremony and started eating. Sumo took a closer look at the flower valley. It seemed that Yuwuhue in Tianfu City had been in a coma for 3 years. It seemed that 3 years had passed in the flower valley of the soul storage altar. After all, the vegetation here had changed. It was definitely not the result of 10 days or half a month. Suemo first went to the side of the ancient well. The water level of the ancient well had risen by a few feet. Sumo took out a jade bowl and drank the water from the well. The water was still clear. Sumo felt a little thirsty. She drank the water in one go. It was cool but not cold, pure but not greasy, and refreshing. The taste of the well water hadn't changed at all. After drinking the water, Sumo felt refreshed both physically and mentally. In fact, after knowing that Yuwuhue in Tianfu City wasn't the real Yuwuhue, Sumo had an inexplicable feeling of anxiety. Just what was going on? Where did Yuwuhue go? What happened in the Battle of the Undying Kingdom? What happened in the northern Chill City? Why was he brought back to Tianfu City? All of this made Sumo a little anxious. Although he had escaped from Tianfu City, he didn't dare to leave the soul storage altar. The so-called cultivating for 1,000 years and waiting until he reached the immortal state was just a ridiculous idea. It was not realistic at all. Sumo didn't have that many millennia. He had to find a way to leave Tianfu City after leaving the soul storage altar. However, he could not be too hasty. He understood that it was possible for him to return to Tianfu City and then come back, but it was not absolute. He needed to ensure his own safety. After drinking a bowl of well water, Sumo calmed herself down. For now, he was safe. However, there were too many limitations to this kind of security. Immediately, Sumo released Black Feather God Hong. The divine bird had also been sleeping in the ragged sack for 3 years. In the last battle of the Undying Kingdom, Sumo did not use her 2 mythological beasts. That was because a battle between undead realm experts was already extremely dangerous. The little white pig could currently control the adult dragon elephant soul eater beast bone to fight, which was considered one of Sumo's trump cards. He would not use it easily. As for how strong the Black Feather Shenhong would be after he turned blood red, Sumo couldn't estimate. There was enough space in the soul storage altar for the two mythological beasts to move around. Sumo, on the other hand, walked into the old house in the Flower Valley alone. Immediately, Sumo took out the soul storage cauldron and placed it on the stove. Once he refined a high-level medicinal pill, the red-clothed woman's shadow would appear on the walls of the old house. Sumo still remembered this. Anyway, he did not want to go out for a while, so he might as well refine some medicinal pills. Then, he would look at the shadow on the wall to see if there were any changes. If Sumo could understand the secret of the soul storage altar, then everything could be solved. So, Sumo sorted out the medicinal ingredients and medicinal pill recipes on him. In fact, Sumo's knowledge, apart from the unwithering secret, the mysterious footwork, the illusionary puppet technique, and a few other unique skills, basically all came from the Windwheel lineage. However, now that Sumo had cultivated to the undead realm, the Windwheel lineage's inheritance was almost finished. Because the peak of the Windwheel lineage's inheritance was also the undead realm. In other words, everything they had was limited to the mortal realm of the hidden world. Third Senior Brother's medical skills and medicinal pill techniques were the highest realm of the undead realm. Sixth Senior Brother's refining was also the undead realm. Of course, this was only talking about their inheritance, not the realm they could reach in the 5 wheels. Also, the other Senior Brothers' inherited magical techniques were not above the mortal realm. The Windwheel lineage, to Sumo, had always been a mystery. Currently, Sumo could only speculate that the Windwheel lineage did not belong to the Pure Land world, and because of some reason, they stayed in the Pure Land's 5 wheels. At that time, with the power of the Windwheel 9 revolutions, they should have returned to the so-called Windwheel world. In the future, Sumo might be able to meet them again. Now, besides the soul-preserving pill recipe that Miao Longer gave him, Sumo still had 2 kinds of undead realm pill recipes. They both came from the Third Senior Brother's inheritance. One was called Absolute Mortal, and the other was called Exterminating God. Previously, for a long time, Sumo did not understand what these 2 kinds of pills were. He did not think about it carefully. Sumo only knew a little about many of the medicinal ingredients in these 2 pill recipes. He had never seen the real thing. However, as Sumo's realm increased, he finally understood the meaning of these 2 pills. Absolute Mortal and Exterminating God were 2 kinds of pills that complemented each other. They were both pills used to break through to the God-bearing realm when one reached the undead realm. The so-called Absolute Mortal was to get rid of the thoughts of the mortal world. The so-called Exterminating God was to get rid of the heart of the mortal world. Going from the mortal realm to the immortal realm was a qualitative leap for a Izong cultivator. In the Izong world, only by breaking away from the mortal world could one become immortal or immortal. This was different from the 3 realms. Although the God-bearing realm in the Izong world was basically the same as the mystic immortal realm in the 3 realms, the Izong world seemed to have a higher position for immortals. Of course, Sumo did not consider this. He just realized that in the Flower Valley, it was very easy to gather the medicinal ingredients that he originally thought were out of reach. Thus, Sumo grabbed the air in the old house. The 10 or so medicinal ingredients that he needed were pulled over by him out of thin air. Watching this process, the little white pig drooled and teared up. To it, those were all delicacies. However, it did not have the ability that Sumo had. It seemed that only Sumo could pick the immortal herbs and elixirs in the entire cave at will. The little white pig could not. It had tried many times. The black crow probably could not either. The little white pig looked at the black feathered deity in the distance and pondered. However, the black feathered deity was more arrogant and did not seem to be interested in those immortal herbs and elixirs. Sumo did not care what the little white pig thought. He gathered the medicinal ingredients and put them in according to the requirements of the pill. With the soul depository cauldron, even a fool could become a top alchemist, not to mention that Sumo really had the inheritance of Third Senior Brother. Even if he used an ordinary pill furnace, he could also refine pills below the undead realm, but the success rate and quality could not be compared to the soul depository cauldron. As the medicinal ingredients were put in, white mist gradually rose. Sumo's attention was not on the alchemy at all. The success rate of the soul depository cauldron was 100%, so there was no need to pay attention to it. It was a fully automatic divine tool. Sumo's eyes were completely focused on the walls of the old house. The little white pig did not enter the house this time. The fragrance of the pill was so strong that it was afraid that it could not restrain itself from inhaling it. However, it also knew that this time, its master must be refining to see the red shadow. Sure enough, the mist of the undead realm pill could definitely make the shadow appear. The white mist gradually increased, and the red shadow loomed. Sumo finally saw the red shadow. However, this time was slightly different, because Sumo found that the red shadow was actually moving. She was forming a seal. Sumo was shocked. Chapter 381. Sumo's first pill was the Juchen Dan. A top undead realm medicinal pill was even more effective than the soul-preserving pill. Therefore, the whole old house was filled with thick white mist. That red-clothed shadow seemed to have arrived on time. However, this time, the red shadow wasn't sitting quietly. Instead, it was moving slowly. Her arms were gently rotating, and her hands were forming a seal. Of course, Sumo had never seen that kind of seal before. However, it did not look very complicated. The seals of the red shadow on the wall were very clear. Sumo was an undead middle-stage cultivator. Of course, she had a photographic memory. However, at this time, the white mist gradually dissipated, and the red shadow dimmed. Inside the hidden soul cauldron, a vermilion pill had been successfully refined. Juchen Dan. A top undead realm medicinal pill. Sumo could definitely use it when breaking through to the god-burying realm. However, at this time, Sumo was not in the mood to refine the medicinal pill. With a wave of his hand, he put the medicinal pill into the storage pill bottle, and then began to put in the medicinal ingredients of the god-exterminating pill. So, before the white mist dissipated, new mist rose. The red shadow on the wall did not disappear, and she continued to perform the spell. Sumo stared intently, engraving every move in his mind. The seal had a total of 7 by 749 move. When all the seals were performed, the red shadow returned to the cross-legged position. Then, it stopped for a moment. The red-clothed figure once again performed that set of seals. At this time, Sumo's god-exterminating pill was successfully refined. The white mist gradually dissipated, and the red shadow did not finish the second set of seals. Of course, once was enough. Sumo had completely memorized it. Inside the hidden soul cauldron, a light blue medicinal pill appeared. That was naturally the god-exterminating pill. Sumo also put it into the storage pill bottle, together with the Juchen Dan and god-exterminating pill. It should be said that this was the most precious medicinal pill on Sumo. However, this kind of preciousness was relative. After all, Sumo had the entire Hidden Soul Altar Flower Valley. There were many immortal grasses and elixirs here that Sumo still did not know. Refining the mortal severing pill and spirit destroying pill was a piece of cake. Putting away the pills, Sumo began to study the hand seals of the red shadow. Sumo sat cross-legged in the old house and began to practice. After all, those seals only came from the red shadow on the wall. Sumo didn't know what kind of seal it was. So, Sumo started to form seals. During the first time, Sumo was only familiarizing herself with the seal and did not use any spiritual power. Sumo felt that the set of hand seals was completed in one go, as smooth as floating clouds and flowing water. It was definitely not a random gesture. For the second time, Sumo began to mobilize the spiritual energy in her body. Cultivators in the undead realm could basically be said to be able to quickly master any spell. This set of 49 moves by 7 was not difficult to practice. However, when Sumo completed this set of incantations, she actually only consumed a little bit of spiritual power. The amount of spiritual chi consumed was almost negligible. At the same time, it did not produce any effect. Huh! Sumo raised an eyebrow. Outside the old house, the little white pig, who had been watching Sumo from afar, couldn't help but stare at her in surprise, because it saw its master made 2 hand seals in a row. However, nothing happened. In fact, that scene was very funny. Sumo seriously performed the spell, but after the spell was completed, there was not even a trace of wind. It was very interesting to make gestures. Humph! It thought its master could perform something earth-shattering, but unfortunately, it was just for show. The little white pig couldn't help but feel bored. Fortunately, it lay outside the flower valley, closed its eyes, and fell asleep. At this time, Sumo was also a little disappointed. Originally, he thought that the shadow on the wall of the old house hid some secret, or this must be a set of earth-shattering spell. However, the result was disappointing. Everything was not as he had imagined. There was no spell at all, and judging from the spiritual power consumed by the spell, it could not be a big spell. When Sumo was in the foundation building state, a random spell of the 5 elements consumed more than the spell just now. Phew! Sumo let out a long sigh of disappointment. However, he always felt that things would not be so simple. The soul storage altar cave was very mysterious, and there were many treasures inside. In this old house, how could there be a shadow of the woman in red casually, and it was useless? This was not normal. Sumo pulled himself together and refined 2 dust-banishing pills and 2 spirit-destroying pills respectively. The white fog rose and the red shadow appeared. Firstly, Sumo wanted to see if he had overlooked anything. Secondly, he wanted to see if there would be any hints if he allowed the white mist to linger a little longer. However, Sumo was disappointed again. Just now, he did not make any mistakes in the 49 move. Moreover, after the red shadow demonstrated 3 times, even if there was still white fog, the red shadow did not appear again. Hiss! Sumo sucked in a breath of cold air. It seemed that the person who left the red shadow was prepared for these 3 demonstrations. However, what was the use of these spells? The white mist dissipated, and Sumo put away the elixir. Then, he did it again. However, it was all in vain. Sumo shook his head. Then, he stopped practicing and directly walked out of the old house. He first glanced at the little white pig, and couldn't help but think of the time when he was brought into the soul storage altar by the little white pig. Then, Sumo's heart moved. Don't forget, there was a big blue urn sealed in the front cave. Could it be that this set of spells was the spell to open the big blue urn? Thinking of this, Sumo felt that it was very possible. Humph! Sumo gently kicked the fat butt of the little white pig. Get up, follow me to the front cave. Humph humph. The little white pig was already sleepy, but it understood Sumo's words. So, Sumo walked in front, and the little white pig followed behind. Soon, 1 person and 1 beast arrived at the front cave. The core area of the soul storage altar cave was here. The red light was dense. There were 49 red lights burning on the walls of the cave. Then, they climbed up the high platform from the front. There were a total of 49 steps. Sumo believed that these numbers were not a simple coincidence. On the high platform, there was a black stone table that was more than 10 feet long, and a big blue urn that was more than 4 feet tall was placed on top of it. The big urn was sealed with red muslin, and the top was sealed with red mud. Light flowed. Many tadpole-like words flowed like water. Immortal, immortal bone, immortal soul, immortal reincarnation, immortal heart. There is no limit to the heavens, and only the ruler of the world. Those 4 lines had always been engraved on the black stone table, and Sumo had always remembered them. Sumo raised her head and looked at the wall above the stone table. There, like a magic pen, were written with 3 big black words, soul storage altar. Those 3 words were all 1 zhang in size. Silver hook and iron drawing, each word sonorous. Everything was still the same. However, now that Sumo stood here, she was no longer the little cultivator who was at the 6th level of qi refining. The present was different and the past was like a dream. Phew, Sumo let out a long breath. For some reason, standing here, Sumo felt a sense of oppression and even a sense of mission. It seemed that everything was about to change. So, Sumo began to make a seal. The first spell came out. In an instant, Sumo's face suddenly changed. Chapter 382. 49 red lights, 49 steps, 49 hand seals, and 49 footwork. All of this was definitely not a coincidence. Sumo firmly believed. And this belief of his was verified after he used the first hand seal. Just now, Sumo had been frustrated. He did not expect that everything would happen so suddenly. After Sumo's technique was unleashed, there was a slight change in the entire cave. In fact, that slight change was extremely difficult to detect. However, at this moment, Sumo's divine sense was completely spread out. It could be said that he could see through the minutest detail. After the first hand seal, the red light furthest from the high platform was extinguished. This was definitely not what Sumo had expected. He remembered that more than 1,000 years ago, when he first entered the soul storage altar cave abode, those red lights were always on. He did not know what was burning those lights, but they were constantly curling up, and there was only red light, no light smoke. The blood-red light was shining, strange, and poignant. It had not been extinguished for 1,000 years, or even longer. However, under Sumo's hand seal, it was extinguished. Light extinguishing technique? Sumo was surprised. At this time, the little white pig also very sensitively turned around. Humph! The little fellow's eyes lit up. Because it felt very interesting. One should know that before Sumo came, it had been wandering around in this soul storage altar cave abode alone. It did not have a clear concept of time, but it felt that it should have been a very long time. However, those red lights had never been extinguished. This time, one of them was extinguished. Interesting. Boom, rumble. At the same time that the first red light was extinguished, the first step under the high platform began to slowly sink, until it was completely level with the ground, and there was not a trace of it. Huh! Sumo was stunned. It seemed that this technique had a great origin. When all the red lights were extinguished, what would happen? Suemo thought to himself, but his hands did not stop forming seals. Poo. Each technique extinguished a lamp, and each technique lowered a level. Under Sumo's spell, the entire soul storage altar cave underwent an earth-shattering transformation. The red light was extinguished, and the cave gradually darkened. 49 steps by 7 by 7 had been completely flattened. With Sumo's last spell, all the red lights were extinguished. Boom boom, boom boom boom, the last step sank and the entire platform sank with it. The long black table sank into the ground. Only the green urn did not sink. In that moment, the entire soul altar cavern became extremely spacious. The center of it had almost become a circular flat ground with a diameter of about 300 feet. The green urn was in the center of the circle. The green light flickered, appearing even brighter in the almost pitch-black cave. At the same time, the 4 lines of the poem on the black stone table and the 3 words, Soul Storage Altar, on the cave wall were glowing. Sumo took a deep breath. Then, in the darkness, a speck of starlight suddenly lit up. The starlight appeared at the southernmost location of Sumo. It suddenly lit up, as if someone was blinking. Sumo raised her head, and the little white pig also raised his head. Then, the starlight gradually appeared, flickering left and right, south and north. The starlight was bright, covering the night sky. At first, Sumo did not feel anything. But after 8 or 9 stars, Sumo suddenly realized that the position and order of the starlight was exactly the same as the footwork she used to enter the soul storage altar cave. In a moment, countless starlight appeared at the top of the cave. The brilliance was bright like the Milky Way. But among them, the brightest were the 49 stars that appeared at the beginning. In the vast starry sky no one could cross. Those 49 stars were like a station, a dock. At that moment, Sumo's heart was in a daze. As the starlight lit up, the ground under Sumo's feet also changed. Hua hua! That was the sound of the rising tide, each wave higher than the last. And at some point, the ground under Sumo's feet turned into a deep blue sea. But there seemed to be a transparent layer of ice between him and the sea. He could hear the sound of the sea, but he could not touch the waves. The white waves were like snow, a whirlpool in the sea. Lotus, white lotus. Those lotus flowers were the same as the starlight. First, one appeared in the southernmost part of the sea, and then another one appeared in another direction. 1 flower, 2 flowers, 3 flowers above the sea. The blue waves were endless. The 49 lotus flowers and the 49 stars in the sky were facing each other from a distance. There were other lotus flowers above the sea, but only the 49 lotus flowers were in full bloom. A fragrance spread. But Sumo could not see, only feel. Sumo and the little white pig looked down at the sea below them. Both the man and the beast were shocked. The little white pig was like a puppy, wanting to pounce on the lotus flowers under his feet. But there was a layer of ice between them and the sea world. They could not pounce at all. That scene was simply too shocking. At this time, Blackfeather Shinhong, who flew over from the Flower Valley in the back mountain, also let out a long cry. Just now, when he heard the strange movement, he thought that something had happened here. But when he entered the cave, he was surprised by what he saw. Mysterious, blurred, beautiful beyond words. The cave abode of the soul storage altar had become a completely different world. At this time, Sumo and the little white pig suddenly realized that they were already far away from the green urn. The green urn was in the center of the starry sky and the sea. And Sumo and the little white pig were already at the edge, but they did not realize this problem. They seemed to have been washed ashore with the waves. At the same time, Blackfeather Shinhong stood on the other side. He wanted to flap his wings and fly to Sumo and the little white pig's side, but he could not. An inexplicable power imprisoned them at the edge of the sea. And the sea below the green urn was forming an incomparably huge whirlpool. Sumo raised his eyebrows. He was very familiar with this scene. In fact, it was not the first time he saw the scene of the sea and the lotus. Every time it was more or less the same. The first time was in the ancient painting in Mu Jinghong's cave abode. At that time, he saw a devilishly handsome man dressed in black in the illusion. The second time was in the ancient temple in Silent Death Valley. That ancient temple seemed to be called Windwheel Temple. That time, he saw a small boat with a canopy, and an old man in white was lying on the boat. The third time was this time. The sea, the lotus, the whirlpool, these scenes were familiar. Who will appear this time? Sumo thought. The first 2 times, maybe I was not strong enough, or maybe the opportunity was not right. Will this time be enough? Who am I? Who am I meeting? Sumo asked in his heart. This was a question he once had. Whoosh! The sea suddenly rolled, and there was a sudden sound. Suddenly, the green urn began to hum and vibrate. Golden runes flowed rapidly. The red muslin sealing the urn fluttered lightly. Was the seal of the green urn about to be opened? Sumo's heart stirred. But at that moment, the image of a woman in red floated out of the red muslin. At that moment, Sumo was both sad and happy. Chapter 383. He was sad because he was gone. He was happy because his old shadow had reappeared. Between sadness and happiness, Sumo's eyes were brimming with tears. That was because the woman in red on the green urn was none other than Mu Jinghong. To Sumo, Mu Jinghong was the most special existence. Back then, Mu Jinghong guided Sumo into the sect and had always been her Tao protector. Everyone in the Five Wheels knew that Mu Jinghong, known as the stunning 3,000 years of white bones, was Sumo's backer. It could be said that without the Mu Jinghong of the past, there would be no Sumo today. Thousands of years had passed, but nothing had changed. That day, under the 9th peak of the wind wheels, Mu Jinghong used an extreme method to die in Sumo's arms. That was Sumo's longest and deepest pain. Even now, he did not understand why Mu Jinghong did that. At that time, he did not understand Mu Jinghong's explanation. But now, Sumo felt that he should be a reincarnated person. But he did not know who he was. Although he did not understand many things, he remembered Mu Jinghong's words before he died. In his previous life, they must have known each other, and their relationship was not shallow. Otherwise, Mu Jinghong would not have used his death to awaken Sumo. If one life was not enough, then two. If two was not enough, then 3 or even millions of lives. Sumo felt that he had not woken up. Mu Jinghong's death made Sumo depressed for 100 years, until he was sure that reincarnation was possible in the Pure Land. It could be said that for 1,000 years, Sumo's ultimate goal was to reunite with Mu Jinghong. No matter what, Sumo did not expect to see Mu Jinghong in the Soul Depository Cauldron. Senior Mu. Sumo was very excited. Humph humph. The little white pig was also stunned. The little fellow could sense the changes in Sumo's heart. When it was in Sumo's arms, it had secretly seen Mu Jinghong. Black and cold, red and bloodthirsty. She was a mysterious woman. The little white pig understood that this female cultivator had a close relationship with Sumo. She could be considered as a half-heroine. Also, wasn't this the previous owner of the big black crow? Sure enough, the moment the red shadow appeared, the black feather Shenhong let out a cry towards the sky and flew towards Mu Jinghong. However, it was still blocked in place, unable to advance an inch. Sumo's situation was almost exactly the same. Inside the soul storage altar cave, there was a mysterious power that sealed everything. Senior Sister Mu. Sumo called out. However, the red-clothed Mu Jinghong turned a deaf ear to him, and his expression did not change much. Sumo, the little white pig, and the black-feathered deity did not seem to be in her eyes. She only immersed herself in her own world. Mu Jinghong's beauty was undeniable. She was dressed in red, and her beauty was unparalleled. However, at this moment, the red figure's expression was calm and emotionless. Was that a divine sense or a mirror image? Sumo could not tell. After all, whether it was a mirror image or a divine sense, they were spells that the current Sumo could not reach. Mu Jinghong looked up at the stars in the sky, then down at the sea beneath her feet. Her movements were very slow, so slow that they seemed to be filled with nostalgia. However, Sumo felt that Mu Jinghong's eyes did not reflect the starry sky or the great river. Her gaze, however, was unusually clear. Clear and cold. Above her was the starry sky, and below her was the sea. In that moment, Mu Jinghong, dressed in red, floated above the large green urn, looking somewhat dreamy. However, Sumo noticed that the red light beneath Mu Jinghong's feet had not left the red muslin that sealed the large green urn. Senior Sister Mu. Sumo called out again. However, Mu Jinghong still did not respond. Sumo couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. At this time, he discovered that a transparent water screen had appeared in front of him. He, the little white pig, and the black-winged god Hong were completely separated from Mu Jinghong. When he looked again, the red-robed Mu Jinghong sighed softly and then waved her hand in the air. Her eyes were filled with disappointment as she said softly, "Immortal, immortal bone, immortal soul, immortal reincarnation, immortal heart. There is no limit to the heavens, and only the ruler of the mortal world." Mu Jinghong was talking to herself, but her voice was full of sorrow and sorrow. As the red-clothed Mu Jinghong drew, The 4 lines of poetry on the black stone table that seemed to be floating on the sea actually lit up one by one. That was written by Senior Sister Mu? Sumo's heart shook. He had never thought that this soul storage altar cave dwelling was related to Mu Jinghong. What is sealed in that large green urn? Sumo really wanted to know. At this time, after Mu Jinghong finished writing, her hands started to form seals. Mu Jinghong's seals were fast and complicated. Whoosh, a large green urn appeared above Mu Jinghong's head. The green urn was identical to the urn under Mu Jinghong's feet. Mirror image. At this time, Sumo was finally sure. Everything he saw was a kind of mirror image, or rather, a memory left on the red muslin sealing the altar. Shao, I will find you in my next life. In this life, I have tried my best. My lifespan is up, but I am willing to reincarnate for you. When Mu Jinghong said this, her figure started to fade. She slowly turned into a ray of red light. Senior Sister Mu, Sumo shouted. Although he knew that Mu Jinghong couldn't hear him, he still wanted to shout. In reality, it was just a way for Sumo to comfort herself. Who is Shao? What is Hongchen? Sumo suddenly felt a headache. It was an inexplicable pain. But the feeling was fleeting. Mu Jinghong's seals had finished. Her figure had completely turned into a red light. In the end, only a wisp of red light was left. It attached itself to the red muslin of the green urn. Whether it was a psychological effect or a real change, Sumo felt that the red muslin sealing the urn had become redder. The red mud at the seal had also become redder. Whoosh! Mu Jinghong's mirror image had completely disappeared, but the starry sky and sea had not. Whoosh, whoosh, the waves of the sea rose again. The green urn actually started to spin. But it was spinning very slowly, as if something was stopping it. Suddenly, the green urn's seal emitted a faint green gas. Amidst the green gas, a somewhat illusory figure floated out. The figure was very faint, as if it could disappear at any moment. But it was unusually clear. At that moment, Sumo's face paled. Her expression was one of fear. Because it was Mu Jinghong dressed in green. But her face was as pale as paper. Blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. She looked very weak. There was a plum blossom mark between her brows. That mark was faintly glowing. Plum blossom? Sumo recalled that when Mu Jinghong died, the sky was filled with plum blossoms. Mu Jinghong's aura was very weak, as if her soul could dissipate at any moment. Fated one, I will give you the dust net scripture. Please come to the dust net world and save me. Chapter 384. Fated person, I will give you the dust sieve scripture. Please come to the dust sieve world and save me. After saying that, Mu Jinghong instantly disappeared. Senior. Mu, Sumo's voice was slightly hesitant. She did not understand why there was another Mu Jinghong. Also, that Mu Jinghong was not a mirror image, but a divine sense. However, that divine sense should have been separated from Mu Jinghong when he was heavily injured and on his last breath. That divine sense could only send out this sentence. Fated person? This should mean that Mu Jinghong was not sure who would see this divine sense. However, due to a strange combination of factors, it was Sumo who came here and discovered the seal. All of this was not to keep Sumo alive. However, Sumo still had doubts in her heart. Black, red, or green? Which one was Mu Jinghong? Also, looking back, Mu Jinghong of 5 wheels should not know about the existence of the soul storage altar. Then, the red shadow on the wall of the old house should be Mu Jinghong in red. The technique to open this place came from Mu Jinghong's inheritance, and Mu Jinghong did not seem to know about the existence of Mu Jinghong in green. Inside the cave, the words, Soul Storage Altar, were written in a different font from Mu Jinghong's poem. Could it be that Mu Jinghong wrote the words, Soul Storage Altar? What was in that green urn? Who was the one who sealed this green urn? Was it Mu Jinghong in red? Where was Dust Sieve World? Who hurt Mu Jinghong in green? Who was I? What did Mu Jinghong's attitude towards her back then mean? Sumo's brows furrowed as he speculated in his heart. Everything seemed to be connected in countless ways, but it also felt chaotic and disorderly. In the end, even Sumo felt a headache coming on. She had no clue at all. It was at this moment that the soul storage altar started to change again. The green urn started to spin rapidly. In the beginning, Sumo could still see clearly 1 round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds. However, the urn spun faster and faster, causing the golden runes around it to spin. Red light, green light, and golden light formed a wheel. At that moment, Sumo saw the whirlpool in the sea below suddenly expand. She looked up and saw a black hole in the middle of the starry sky. Wind howled inside the soul storage altar. The green urn disappeared in an instant. Sumo raised an eyebrow. Humph. The little white pig jumped up. Clang. Blackfeather Godking probably didn't expect this either and let out a cry. At the same time, they realized that the shackles around them had been lifted. The man, the beast, and the bird instinctively pounced in the direction of the green urn. Boom, rumble, however, the entire soul storage altar started to shake, and the sea beneath their feet disappeared at a visible rate. The sea instantly turned into a dark brown land. However, the entire cave did not return to its original state. The floor of the cave abode had become as smooth as a mirror, as if it had been meticulously polished. The original stairs and platform did not appear again. However, the black stone strip was still there, but it seemed to be embedded in the ground. The 4-line poem by the red-clothed Mu Jinghong was also there. The large vermilion words shone brightly. It was like all of the red-clothed Mu Jinghong's stubbornness and unwillingness. Sumo, the little white pig, and the Blackfeather Godking stood dazedly in the middle of the cave abode. All of these changes were far beyond their expectations. The starry sky above the cave abode had not disappeared. Those stars were still bright and dazzling, and the entire cave abode was still hazy. The 3 of them were a little confused. After waiting for a while, nothing changed. Sumo, the little white pig, and the Blackfeather Godking looked at each other. It seemed that they all thought that there would be no change. In reality, that was the case. For a whole 15 minutes, the cave abode was quiet. Nothing unusual happened. Sumo tried to use the spell again. The red lights that had been extinguished did not light up again. The spell seemed to have completed its mission and was useless. Humph humph. The little white pig snorted and raised its nose to sniff, but it didn't find anything unusual. The Blackfeather Godking's eyes were a little lonely, because he had clearly seen Mu Jinghong just now, but he had disappeared in the blink of an eye. Phew! Sumo exhaled and slightly calmed down. Everything that had happened just now had a great impact on him. There were too many things that he had to sort out. However, he remembered the last words of Mu Jinghong. Dust Sieve Sutra. That sutra was in his ragged bag. Back then, the little white pig had given it to him like a treasure, but it was a wordless heavenly book. There were a total of 9 pages, except for the front and back cover, the rest were blank. As Sumo pondered, he took out the Dust Sieve Sutra again. The material of the Dust Sieve Sutra was exactly the same as that of the red dust fan. They should both be human skin. Dust Sieve Sutra. The 3 words on the cover were very simple and unadorned, exuding an aura of vicissitudes. Sumo gently turned the page, and something that shocked him again happened. Now, the first page of the Dust Sieve Sutra was not blank, but a picture appeared. This change must be related to everything that had happened just now. Mu Jinghong's divine thought had opened the seal of the book. The picture on the first page was quite strange. There were many stars and many straight lines. At first glance, it looked somewhat messy and disorderly. However, Sumo immediately saw some clues. He directly raised his head and looked at the starry sky of the Immortal's cave. If it was really a starry sky, then the picture in Sumo's hand should be a star chart. Sumo carefully compared the star chart in his hand, and it should correspond to the entire northeast corner of the starry sky. And in the northeast corner, there were a total of 3 bright stars. They all belonged to the 7 by 749 stars. Dust Sieve realm? Sumo pondered. Of course, this was only his speculation. The first page of the Dust Sieve Sutra was a star chart, without any other markings or words. Sumo turned to the second page. This page suddenly emitted a brilliance, which was a kind of golden brilliance. Many tadpole-like golden characters covered the page. And at the same time that Sumo turned to this page, those golden characters began to automatically enter Sumo's mind. At first, Sumo didn't recognize those golden characters. However, when those characters truly entered Sumo's mind, they completely turned into characters that Sumo could recognize. Dust Sieve Sutra. Sumo's heart shook, and his eyes instantly brightened. It turned out to be a cultivation treasure, and could even be said to be all-encompassing. It was divided into 2 parts, upper and lower. The upper part was a soul cultivation method, while the lower part was a variety of wondrous technique. However, whether it was cultivation methods or wondrous techniques, they could not be studied by cultivators below the immortal realm. Currently, these golden characters only existed in Sumo's sea of consciousness. It was impossible for Sumo to study them. He had to become a burial god cultivator. Even so, Sumo was still very pleasantly surprised. One must know that he urgently needed cultivation methods above the undying realm. Right now, he only had the last part of the unwithering art, the unwithering soul. Moreover, that was only a chi refinement method. In other words, it could no longer satisfy Sumo's needs. Sumo suppressed his excitement and continued flipping through the pages. Unfortunately, the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th pages were still blank. However, the blankness was not the same as before. The page emitted a faint light. Sumo could feel that this Dust Sieve Sutra's seal had been unlocked. However, he couldn't understand these few pages. Sumo continued to read. The 7th page was finally no longer blank. 8. Chapter 385. The 7th page of the Dust Sieve Sutra was actually filled with incomparably messy handwriting. The handwriting was quite crazy, like cursive writing after getting drunk. Those characters were different from the 2 characters inside the soul altar cave abode. Sumo frowned as she read. Only then did she realize that those words were actually intermittent, or more accurately, it was more like they were casually jotted down. His words were messy and without a head or tail. Huanger has been gone for 7 days and there's actually no news from him? Deep thoughts. There's something wrong with the river of stars. All the stars are shaking. The fiend flower flooded the Milky Way, causing many stars to fall. He did not understand why the demons sealed by the venerables had been eliminated. Where did the red flower come from? It was said that the stars of Zio, Jiluan, and heaven cultivation had been destroyed. I wonder if it's real or not. Where are the spirit lords? Where was the demon venerable? Where is the demon lord? The sea of stars is vast and mighty, and there is no more zither music. The sea is silent, and the willow town is faint. Mu, you said that the 3 realms have eternal life, but where is eternal life? Mu, you said to disperse karma, but karma comes back again. Could it be that you were the one who led the 3 realms to destruction? 10,000 stars are burnt to ashes, blood stains the starry sky. I am willing to fight for the 3 realms. I'm willing to fight for the galaxy. I am willing to fight for samsara. How sad. How magnificent. I can't accept this. I want to go to immeasurable fairy. I want to step on a lotus and find out the truth. Sumo read line by line. The more she read, the more confused she became. At the same time, the more she read, the heavier her heart became. Although it was just a few words, the amount of information was not small. Obviously, these were the words left behind by a great figure of the 3 dimensions. The last few words were written in a deranged manner, and one could imagine how he felt. The person who wrote it must have been filled with grief and indignation. The last few lines on the page caused Sumo's expression to change slightly. Caressing the longsword, singing the song of treading on the snow, lasting for thousands of years, passing by in a flash. Who can understand me, even if the world is desolate and the earth grows old? Who is an immortal in the boundless mortal world? Who is the devil? Immortals and demons had no form. If I wish, I can be a ghost, a demon, a deity, or a Buddha. The three realms were empty. Beyond the blue skies, June Mo1, what is the cause and effect of the roulette? Laughing at the 3,000 Daos, I tell you, unwilling to be a passerby. Sumo had heard this song before. Back then, after Mu Jinghong's death during the White Bone five-wheel battle, this song had appeared in Sumo's mind. Back then, Sumo had a splitting headache and directly fainted. At this moment, Sumo didn't feel too strange, but Sumo understood that all of this must be inextricably linked to her. Sumo flipped to the 8th page. There were words on the 8th page too. However, those words were all in the same small regular script. The handwriting was neat and elegant. It was not the same handwriting as the one on the 7th page. The Milky Way shattered, and I mistakenly entered a hidden place and was born. Without seeing the galaxy, I miss my homeland for 100 years. He dragged out an ignoble existence for a single thought in his heart. Xiaolang, I only hope that you can return. Today, I found a little beast on the nameless continent. It has the shape of a dragon and an elephant, and is charmingly naive. If Huanger was still here, I would be overjoyed. A hidden place is vast, and the 3 stars are only a corner. Xiaolang, my lifespan is coming to an end, and I can only use the soul concealment technique. Then, I will reincarnate to find you again. Yearning for my husband, I can only go through the mortal world. Today, Wu is willing to reincarnate again in the name of Mu Hongqian, and only asks to see you again. The plum blossoms are scattered, and the fragrance is still the same. The handwriting at the front was very neat, and there was no problem. However, Sumo noticed that the 8 words on the last line were suddenly messed up. It seemed that something had suddenly happened when she was writing the last line. Sumo felt that her mood was getting heavier and heavier. These scattered words couldn't restore everything. However, Sumo always felt a sense of oppression. She flipped to the 9th page. There were not only a few words on the 9th page, but also a picture. It was a strange beast. It had a dragon head, an elephant body, and a giant tail. It was majestic and murderous. Sumo's heart skipped a beat when she saw it. Sure enough, the little white pig, who had been watching everything from the side, directly hummed. Then, it jumped onto the Dust Sift Sutra and rubbed its face against the strange beast. That was the adult dragon elephant soul-devouring beast. There were small words under the picture. The beast of dragon elephant does not eat the essence, does not grow unless it is an evil soul. 1,000-year-old small beast, a king for 10,000 years. Its combat power was comparable to the mount of the demon lord. These words were elegant and neat, and it seemed that they were not written at the same time as the words in front. Does not eat the essence, does not grow unless it is an evil soul. Sumo smiled bitterly. No wonder the little white pig could not grow up. Since it was young, it was only a little fat occasionally, and then evolved a pair of wings after absorbing the zombie aura in Fengling Ancient Town. It turned out that this fellow would only grow if it swallowed evil souls. 1,000-year-old one was considered a small beast, and a 10,000-year-old one was a king. It seemed that this little white pig had great potential. At this time, the little white pig no longer rubbed against the picture. The key was that Sumo did not allow it. He was worried that the snot of the little white pig would dirty the sutra. Sumo closed the Dust Sift Sutra, and the words, Dragon Elephant Soul-Devouring Beast, were still on the back cover. As far as Sumo could see, the Dust Sieve Sutra was definitely not the work of a single person. In fact, the owner of the Dust Sieve Sutra had been of very casual record. Otherwise, there would not have been separate scribbling and scribbling. Based on what he had seen so far, Sumo could not completely understand it. However, he had obtained the sutra, and at the same time, it meant that he had another task. That was to obtain the Dust Sift world and save that green-robed Mu Jinghong. However, Sumo understood that he definitely could not go now. Moreover, that might not be the Mu Jinghong he wanted. Although the green-robed Mu Jinghong's last spiritual message did not say anything, but it should be someone who had mastered the Dust Sift Sutra to be qualified to save him. Therefore, Sumo was still far from it. After calming himself down, Sumo put away the Dust Sift Sutra. Everything needed to be planned in the long run. Sumo had no memory of the three realms, and the only cultivators he knew of in the three realms were Miao Long and the city lord of the northern Chill City. Therefore, if Sumo wanted to know more and sort out everything, the best choice was to return to the northern Chill City. Unfortunately, Sumo could not go out now. As soon as he left the cave, he would directly return to the Tianfu city. And as long as Yi Wuhui from the Tianfu city saw him, he would be able to kill him as easily as killing an ant. Sumo did not dare to take the risk. However, he had to go back. After seeing Mu Jinghong, no matter what, Sumo's state of mind had already changed. He could not continue to waste time like this. Just because he had to plan in the long run didn't mean that he could delay it. Sumo thought for a while and decided to wait for 3 days. In this way, Yi Wuhui might not be in that garden, and after Sumo went back, there was a certain chance that he could escape from that garden. As long as he was not discovered by Yi Wuhui immediately, Sumo felt that he had a chance to use the mysterious footwork. Then, the worst result would be him returning to the cave in the soul storage altar. Now, Sumo felt that his footwork was definitely one step away from time to time. He even felt that his footwork could reach 1 star with 1 step, but his level was not high enough. The starry sky in the cave was proof. After thinking about everything, Sumo quietly waited in the cave for 3 days. During those 3 days, apart from cultivating, he also collected some spirit herbs and spirit fruits, which he needed. At the same time, he also let the little white pig familiarize himself with the adult dragon elephant soul eater's skeleton. 3 days later, Sumo kept the little white pig and the black feather deity, and then made all the preparations. He was going to take the risk to go back to the Tianfu city. Whoosh, in front of the cave. Sumo took a step and did not stop. 49 steps by 7. 1 step, 1 scenery. Unfortunately, Sumo could not see it clearly. When he took the last step, Sumo's heart was in his throat. He was afraid that he would directly run into Yi Wuhui. Whoosh, Sumo landed on the ground, but his surroundings were as dark as ink. Was it night in the Garden of Guilt? Chapter 386. It was pitch black, with no starlight. Sumo was shocked. There was such a dark night in Tianfu City? It was incredible. However, when Sumo quietly spread out his divine sense, he was even more shocked. Because at this time, Sumo found that he was not standing in the garden in Tianfu City, but in an empty valley. Wrong way. This was Sumo's first thought. However, it was not the first time that Sumo had taken those 49 steps, and he had never made a mistake. Thinking back, there should be no problem with each step. But, why didn't he return to the garden in Tianfu City? At that moment, Sumo was shocked at first, and then immediately became happy. Because, no matter where he went, it seemed to be better than returning to the garden. For Sumo, at present, his most terrible and powerful enemy was the Tianfu City's Yi Wuhui. But where was this place? Sumo boldly spread out his divine sense to explore the outside. Within a radius of several miles, it was empty. Moreover, the spiritual energy here was extremely thin. Could it be that this was not Tianfu City? Sumo thought. It would be great if he was out of Tianfu City. Sumo's divine sense was still spreading out. However, when it reached a radius of 10 miles, it seemed to encounter an invisible obstacle. Sumo could no longer sense what was happening within 10 li of him. In theory, the divine sense of an immortal cultivator, as long as he wanted, could cover a radius of 10,000 miles. Even a foundation establishment cultivator could cover a radius of 10 miles. However, this was the situation Sumo was in now. He felt that he had entered a black valley with a radius of 10 miles. The surrounding was like a mountain but not a mountain, like a fog but not a fog. Unable to reach the sky, unable to reach the ground. Gurgle, gurgle. At this time, Sumo suddenly heard the sound of water nearby. Sumo turned around and sure enough, not far away. In the darkness there were a few streams gurgling out. They surged up from the ground like a fountain. However, the fountain was less than a foot tall, and the spring water was brownish-yellow in color and rather muddy. At that moment, a word popped up in Sumo's mind: Yellow Springs. The surroundings were all so gloomy. This place really resembled hell. Sumo was pondering which direction she should head in when a gust of wind suddenly blew, and it was a gust of wind. The foul wind was accompanied by a fishy smell as it headed straight for Sumo. Berserk beast. This dark valley was a little strange. This was because when Sumo sensed the beast pouncing towards her, the beast was already very close to her. Dozens of zhang. For a cultivator at Sumo's level, this distance could only be described as a millimeter. However, that ferocious beast did not seem to be as capable as Sumo. Compared to Sumo, its speed was not fast enough. However, it appeared a little too suddenly. Sumo responded immediately. Everything was not too late. Although she was not familiar with the terrain, Sumo's level was more than enough to deal with this place. Sumo leaned to the right. In the darkness, she saw a ferocious beast charging straight at her. That ferocious beast had a body of golden fur like a snake, a dragon tail like a sharp blade, and 4 claws like a lion's paws. The most special thing about it was that it had 3 dog heads. One was black, one was red, and one was gold. It had 3 heads and 6 eyes, and each eye was emitting a ghostly green glow. Evil ghost hound. Sumo frowned. He had heard of this legendary 3-headed ferocious beast from hell. Could it be that she had really arrived in hell? Wouldn't that mean she was dead? Sumo thought. His hands were not slow at all. The broken bamboo pole was already in his hand. This broken bamboo pole had accompanied Sumo for thousands of years, and he would use it almost every time he faced off against Sumo. However, if there was one time that he felt the most natural and comfortable, it would be this time. One had to know that before Sumo stepped out of the cultivation world, his bamboo pole was used to beat dogs. He had not beaten a dog for a long time. Sumo was a little emotional. The broken bamboo pole flashed with a green light and went straight for the evil ghost hound. In fact, the evil ghost hound's level was not high. In Sumo's opinion, it was only a spirit beast around the soul transformation realm. Bang! Sure enough, Sumo's attack hit its target. The bamboo pole directly hit the evil ghost hound's waist. This was also the weakest point of the evil ghost hound. Air. The evil ghost hound was sent 7 to 8 feet away, howling in pain. Sumo had already been merciful, otherwise, it would have been split into 2. However, that guy would never appreciate it. From afar, its 3 heads howled at the same time. At that moment, the evil dog was very much like a wolf. Sumo, on the other hand, was calm and unruffled. Spirit beasts of this level, even if there were hundreds or thousands of them, would be useless to him. Roar! In an instant, Sumo sensed strange noises within a 10-mile radius. The wind blew and the smell of blood assaulted him. At that moment, Sumo sensed at least a few hundred evil ghost hounds charging at him. Could it be a dog kennel with a radius of 10 li? Sumo smiled bitterly in his heart. At the same time, he heard the dogs barking and growling around him. In the darkness, spots of green light floated over. Sumo was surrounded by a group of evil ghost hounds. Sumo raised an eyebrow, because there were really a lot of them. However, they were only at the soul transformation realm. Faintly, Sumo sensed that there seemed to be another evil beast in the distance, slowly approaching. Its footsteps were heavier and its level was higher. Let's deal with this first. This time, Sumo did not do it himself. Instead, he released the little white pig and the black feathered deity. Beasts against beasts, it was suitable. Humph! The little white pig was very excited as soon as he came out. He probably did not expect his master to let him out so soon. When it saw the vicious dogs around it, it almost drooled. That was the true evil spirit energy. The little white pig had always been a little malnourished. Clang, the black feathered deity, only neighed. He was much more stable than the little white pig. Humph, you have the soul-devouring energy. Deity Hong, you eat flesh. There is no need to show mercy. They are all evil beasts, Sumo said. Recently, Sumo had been meeting powerful beings. They were either burying deities, world breakers, or even immortals. Sumo was speechless. Cultivating for 1,000 years and becoming an immortal cultivator, it was reasonable to say that Sumo was already a monster. However, he was not in a good mood recently. Today, he wanted to have a good time here. The little white pig and the black feathered deity probably felt the same way. They were all top-notch divine beasts, but they did not have a chance to show off, because their master's opponents seemed to be all kings. Humph, clang, clang. The little white pig and the black feathered deity were like tigers entering a pack of wolves. The soul transformation realm evil dogs could not withstand a single blow from them. The evil spirit dogs' yellow heads could spit poisonous smoke, red heads could spit venom, and black heads could cast spells. However, none of this could hurt the little white pig and the black feathered deity. The little white pig's silver wings flashed as it harvested. Wherever it passed, countless dog heads fell to the ground. The black feathered deity only had to spit out divine fire to burn an entire area. The little white pig devoured evil spirits, and the black feathered deity devoured flesh. In a moment, hundreds of evil spirit dogs were all killed. The darkness reeked of blood and burnt flesh. However, the little white pig's eyes were shining, and the black feathered deity's eyes were slightly red. They were both very excited. However, the evil spirit dog king was approaching. Thousands of miles outside the Valley of Darkness, there was a city. There were 2 large black words on the city gate tower, 9 Nether. Sumo, who was in the Valley of Darkness, would never have thought that he would not return to Tianfu, but end up in the 9 Nether. Chapter 387. Inside the dark valley, the stench of blood permeated the air. Sumo stood on the side, calmly watching everything. Little white pig and black feather deity both looked excited and satisfied. The 2 divine beasts were full and comfortable. However, they and Sumo both sensed a higher-level evil beast was already rushing towards them. Boom, boom, the valley shook and echoed. Whoosh, affected by the footsteps, the gurgling yellow spring began to spurt. For a moment it rose several feet high. The entire valley was filled with a thick fishy smell, almost dispersing the smell of blood. Roar, roar, not far away, an evil beast with 3 dog heads howled at the sky. King. That was the king of evil spirit hounds. The 3-headed hound was more than 4 feet tall. Each of its 3 heads was the size of a bucket, its eyes glowing like green light. Its body was covered in golden fur, several feet long, but there were snake heads growing on the golden fur. Those poisonous snakes were all sticking out their long tongues, looking very terrifying. The 3-headed hound's 4 legs were like elephant pillars, its claws like lion claws, sharp as knives. At the same time, it dragged a long tail, almost identical to a dragon's tail. Venomous saliva dripped from the mouths of the 3 heads, dripping down the corners of their mouth. Roar, roar. The three-headed hound stared at Sumo, Little White Pig, and Black Feather Deity, emitting a ferocious aura as it growled. Undead divine beast. Sumo frowned. Evil spirit hounds, in terms of combat power and rank, were indeed divine beasts, but their appearance was too disgusting. They were born in hell, ugly, and covered in poison. Such divine beasts almost completely represented evil. Very few cultivators would keep them for their own use. Sumo, of course, wouldn't. However, Sumo knew that the king of evil spirit hounds' poison pill was extremely potent, a rare treasure. Since she had encountered it, she had to keep it. Humph, deity Hong, leave its inner core to me. The rest is yours, do it. Sumo ordered. The two divine beasts were waiting for Sumo's order. In the face of an undead realm god beast, they could definitely fight it if they joined forces. Not to mention that at the critical moment, Black Feather God Hong could also go berserk to increase his combat power. Humph. This time, the little white pig was extremely excited. With a flap of its silver wings, they were actually half a foot longer than usual. His fangs were exposed, and they seemed to be a little thicker. It seemed that the evil spirit aura had helped the little guy grow a little. Clang! Black Feather God Hong was fearless. Although this was an undead dog king, Black Feather Shen Hong felt that he could deal with it as long as he put in a little more effort. There was no need for the little white pig. Woo, roar, however, the ghost hound shook its head and howled in grief and anger. Almost all of its descendants had been slaughtered. Its three bloody mouths spewed out streams of black mist. Unfortunately, the black mist had no effect on the little white pig and the black-feathered deity. Little white pig leaped and directly pounced toward the ghost hound. Don't be fooled by the little white pig's small and chubby appearance. But its attacks had always been ruthless. Its fangs did not go for any of the dog's heads, but directly pierced the ghost hound's heart. The ghost hound had 3 heads. Even if one fell, it would not die. But it only had one immortal heart. If the immortal heart was broken, it would die without a doubt. Therefore, the little white pig's attacks were all fatal. However, as the king of the ghost hounds, this beast was not of the same level as before. According to its current level, an undead divine beast was definitely above the little white pig. Roar! The ghost hound twisted its body and directly dodged the little white pig's attack. At the same time, it opened its black head and directly bit at the little white pig. Saliva dripped from the ghost hound's mouth, and there was a fishy smell. Moreover, its teeth were extremely sharp, like an inverted knife. But the little white pig's body was extremely agile. Whoosh! At that moment, the little white pig almost escaped from the ghost hound's mouth. At the same time, its wings directly slashed at the blackhead's eyes. The black feather Shinhong also moved. This time, it did not directly spit out divine fire. Instead, it turned into a black light, and its long sharp beak directly pierced the golden head's forehead. Both the little white pig and the black feather Shinhong's attacks were a bit tentative. Whoosh! The ghost hound's red head shook, and directly spat out blood-red flames. That was hellfire. Sumo frowned. That flame was equivalent to an undead realm spell. At this time, even an ordinary deity realm late-stage cultivator might not be this ghost hound's match. Unfortunately, the ones it encountered were all special cultivators and divine beasts. As soon as the red flames appeared, the little white pig was a bit wary, and immediately retreated. But the black feather Shinhong did not even try to dodge. The black light directly penetrated the red flames. Within the infinite worlds, there was almost no fire that could harm the black feather Shinhong. Pft! The vermilion beak directly pierced the ghost hound's golden head. In an instant, the golden light spread, illuminating the entire dark valley. Sumo glanced around. This really was a dark valley. Roar! The ghost hound most likely did not expect such a situation. But it still had 3 heads, and these 3 heads were not divided into the main and secondary. One of them was damaged, but it did not lose the ability to fight at all. Instead, the black feather Shenhong's attack had stimulated its ferocity. To be honest, in the tens of thousands of years it had been in the Dark Valley, it had never encountered an opponent of this level. Boom! The black feather Shenhong and the little white pig had probably not seen such a fighting style. Even Sumo was stunned. Because before the black feather Shenhong's beak could be pulled out, that golden head actually exploded in an instant. The ghost hound's 3 heads were very close. In theory, this explosion would cause the most damage to itself. But here was the strange thing. The head exploded, and endless spiritual energy surged like a tide. The golden light was like a blazing sun. Even thousands of miles away, this golden light could be seen. However, its other 2 heads were unscathed. Not only were they unscathed, but they were also casting spells. The black head spewed out black venom. The red head shot out meteor-like fireballs. The most frightening thing was that its golden fur instantly grew wildly. Golden venomous snakes coiled toward it. The 3 attacks were launched in unison. This time, the black feather Shenhong was at a disadvantage. The power of the explosion caused the black feather Shenhong's body to sway. It was not afraid of the fireballs, but the venom splashed on one of its wings. Sizzle, sizzle, in an instant black smoke rose. The venom corroded the black feather Shenhong's feathers. The black feather Shenhong's wings were comparable to divine weapons. This injury was enough to prove the ghost hound's power. In an instant, more than a dozen yellow snakes wrapped around the black feather Shenhong's beak and feet, and more of them appeared. The black feather Shenhong could not break free. Suemo frowned at the sight. Of course, he could attack at any time. But the little white pig was faster. Hum, sizzle. The moment the black feather Shenhong was trapped, the little white pig had already rushed over to help. Its silver wings swept over the yellow snakes and cut them in half. The snake heads fell to the ground and instantly turned into yellow smoke. The black feather Shenhong managed to escape. Clang! At that moment, the black feather Shenhong threw its head back and let out a long cry. Its body instantly glowed with a faint red light. In its ultimate form, the black feather Shenhong could fight against dragons and phoenixes. When had it ever suffered such a loss? With a flash of red light, the black feather Shenhong's injured wings rapidly recovered. At the same time, it opened its blood-red beak. Poof, whoosh, the divine Hong's raging flames instantly swept across the entire valley. The area within a radius of 10 miles was like a furnace. At this moment, outside Jiryo City, an elegant young man in white was watching everything in the Black Valley with a smile. Chapter 388. The red flames were like a tide, the light piercing the sky. The entire dark valley was shrouded in divine flames. The Nether Hound was already in the air. It wanted to escape. In fact, it did have the ability to do so. After all, the little white pig and the black feather deity were weaker than it in terms of cultivation. The Nether Hound had its own advantage in this 9 Netherland. At least it was familiar with its surroundings. But don't forget that there was still Sumo nearby. If Sumo didn't want it to leave, it definitely couldn't. Whoosh! Sumo shook her hand and a large golden net covered the hound. It was the mixed gold net she got from Yen Fengyun of Myriad Spirit Sect in Moz. The primordial gold net was originally just a high-level deity tribulation magic treasure. Furthermore, it had been damaged before. However, Suemo had repaired and refined it. Now it was an early-stage undying treasure. The mixed gold net was perfect to deal with the Nether Hound. One should know that this golden net once covered the ink-colored boat, so it wasn't ordinary. Whoosh! The net covered the sky, but the Nether Hound rushed up. It was walking right into the net. Golden light shined. The Nether Hound was trapped by the mixed gold net and wanted to escape. Sumo only managed to block it for a moment. The rest was dealt with by the little white pig and the black feather deity. Roar! The remaining 2 heads of the Nether Hound howled, but to no avail. The mixed gold net only tightened, even squeezing into the hound's flesh. At this time, the little white pig rushed up. This little guy's fighting strength was at its peak, and its morale was high. Puff! A pair of white fangs pierced into the netherhound's chest, but there was no sign of blood. The little white pig didn't pull out its fangs, but nailed the hound. Roar! The netherhound roared and struggled, but it was useless. The golden hairs on its body began to rapidly wither and die. The little white pig looked like a big mosquito on its 4-jong-tall body. But this mosquito was enough to take its life. The little white pig was a dragon-elephant soul-eater with endless power. Soul-devouring. Looking again, the little white pig's fangs were glowing with black light. The ghost hound's soul energy was absorbed by the little white pig. It was pure evil spirit energy, which was the best tonic for the little white pig. That was a beast king. All the ghost hounds he had just devoured couldn't compare to this one. The little white pig's eyes lit up and it hummed. At the same time, its body swelled up like a balloon as the soul spirit poured into it. The little white pig turned into a big white pig. The ghost hound's body began to rapidly shrivel up. The 4 green eyes on both of their heads began to dim and lose their light. Once his soul energy dissipated, he would definitely die. As time went by, the little white pig sucked happily. Black Feather God Hong was unwilling to fall behind. He swooped down and opened his long beak. One of the dog heads was torn off and swallowed. He looked extremely ferocious and brutal. The pig and the bird did not interfere with each other. They ate and drank. In less than an hour, the king-level ghost hound was completely destroyed by the 2 of them. However, the little white pig almost turned into a big white elephant. This was absolute gluttony. The black feather god spirit almost turned into a black ostrich. Little white pig and black feathered deity Hong saw satisfaction in each other's eyes after this godly meal. This was also the result of their cooperation. The relationship between the 2 divine beasts had improved. Fortunately, Black Feather God Hong did not forget Sumo's request. In the end, he took out the ghost hound's inner core and gave it to Sumo. It was a khaki-colored inner core, faintly shining. Sumo nodded with satisfaction. This inner core was a highly poisonous thing. Such a thing could kill or save people, depending on how it was used. Sumo put the inner core in the storage bottle for future use. As soon as the king of the ghost hound died, there was no more movement in the entire Dark Valley. At this time, Sumo judged that this 10-li radius was actually a dog kennel. However, these dogs were not ordinary dogs but ghost hounds. According to legend, ghost hounds were the watchdogs of hell. Did she really go to hell? Sumo was a little puzzled. 49 steps by 7 by 7, why did it not follow common sense? Sumo thought in her heart, then flew in a direction with the big white pig and black feather god Hong. Now, Sumo's divine sense was limited, so she could only follow her senses. The little white pig's body expanded by tens of times. It seemed that this fellow needed to spend some time. Sigh. Sumo looked at the little white pig and couldn't help but shake her head in pain. The once cute little pet has now become a fat Marshall Tianpeng. It's going to grow ugly. Sumo muttered in her heart. The speed of the 3 of them was not slow, even if they really ate like a pig. They could cover a radius of 10 li in an instant. However, Sumo led the little white pig and black feather god Hong for about 15 minutes, but they still hadn't reached the exit. Sumo raised an eyebrow. The little white pig and black feather god Hong also felt that something was wrong. They seemed to have been going in circles within a radius of 10 li. Everything in this dark valley seemed to be exactly the same. This place was like a black hole. Furthermore, no matter how high they flew, they seemed to be inside the dark valley. Sumo took out a compass from her pocket. This was something that belonged to the windwheel lineage. When she looked again, the needle on the compass kept moving, unable to indicate any direction. This place was strange. Suemo stopped where he was and narrowed his eyes. He seemed to be trying to find an exit in the darkness. Unfortunately, there was none. This dark valley was actually sealed. There were actually many cultivators watching the slaughter in the dark valley. However, none of them showed themselves. It was better to avoid trouble. After all, those evil dogs were dead. One of the cultivators watching was the white-robed young man outside Nine Serenities City. He had been paying attention to Sumo the moment he appeared in the dark valley. He hadn't expected another cultivator to enter the pure land of Nine Serenities like him. Based on the time, Sumo seemed to have followed him here. However, the white-robed young man knew that Sumo definitely didn't come with him. They had entered through different paths. He was very curious as to how that green-robed cultivator had entered Nine Serenities and fallen into the dark valley so quickly. Under normal circumstances, the cultivators of Nine Serenities City wouldn't go through the dark valley. That was because that path was too difficult and dangerous. However, it was said that all those who escaped from Nine Serenities took that path. However, it was obvious that Sumo didn't come from the city. Hee. The white-robed young man couldn't help but laugh when he saw that Sumo couldn't find the exit after walking for a long time. You and I are fated. I'll lend you a hand. That evil spirit dog is a watchdog. You killed the watchdog, so of course you can't come in. The white-robed young man muttered to himself. At the same time, he raised his right hand, extended his index and middle finger, and pointed in the direction of the dark valley. Sumo, who was in the dark valley, suddenly saw a flash of light in front of her left. Let's go. Sumo was very alert, and his body moved instantly. Little white pig and black feathered deity Hong naturally followed her. Whoosh, there was a flash of light. They felt the scenery in front of them change, and they landed outside the dark valley. That was because they saw a gray, swirling sky. Chapter 389. The sky was gray, and it was unknown how high it was. Sumo looked up and found that the sky here was not only dark, but seemed to be flowing. It was as if there was a special layer of cloud floating in the sky. What was going on? Sumo frowned slightly. Little white pig and black feather deity also had blank expressions. What Sumo could not understand, the two of them naturally could not. Fortunately, they found that there was already a narrow path under their feet. At the end of the path was an ink-colored black hole. If Sumo's guess was correct, then it should be the dark valley they had just walked out of. At this time, the black hole was only 3 zhang away from them. It seemed to be only a few dozen zhang in diameter, but there was a faint smell of blood coming from it. And the other end of the path led to an unknown place. Humph! Little white pig twisted his huge body and suddenly snorted. Sumo turned around. Just now, he had only been paying attention to the air and under his feet. At this time, he found that there was a stone tablet on the side of the road 7 or 8 zhang away. The stone tablet was only 3 feet tall, and it was slightly tilted. It was carved from a piece of black stone. Sumo moved and arrived in front of the black stone tablet. Light flowed on the stone tablet. Sumo had seen this kind of black stone many times. The broken stone formation in Silent Death Valley, the 5 Wheels Profound Gate in Northern Region, and the black table in the Soul Storage Altar were all made of this kind of stone. But even now, Sumo did not know the secret of this black stone. There were 4 snow-white words on the black stone tablet in front of them: 9 Hell's Realm. 9 Hell's Realm. Sumo's expression changed. 9 Hells? Was this really the 9 Hells that was known as a pure land of hell? Sumo did not dare to believe it. There was Tianfu above, and 9 Hells below. After coming out of the Soul Storage Altar, Sumo should have returned to Tianfu City. But she actually came to 9 Hells? 9 Hells was tens of thousands of zhang below the Bitter Wheel Sea. No wonder the sky here was in a flowing and gray state. Because the sky here was the bottom of the Bitter Sea. Both the Tianfu City and the Netherworld City were legendary existences to the people of the Pure Land. Sumo did not know much about Tianfu and Nine Nether. He didn't expect that he would arrive at Tianfu City and Juyo City in just a few days. In Tianfu City, Sumo didn't have a chance to take a closer look. Now, Sumo was asked to return to Tianfu City, but Sumo didn't want to go back. The key was that she didn't dare to go back. However, he was rather interested in the Nine Nether Sumo. It was none other than the fact that Sumo had a Netherworld token on her. Sumo flipped her hand and the black ninth hell token appeared in her hand. It was given to her by the Palace Lord of the Bliss Palace, Linghu Hahuan, after the battle at the Immortal Temple. At that time, Linghu Hahuan had said that she could enter the Nine Nether City with this token, and that as long as Sumo was in the Pure Land, she could crush the token in times of danger, and someone would definitely help her. Unfortunately, it could only be used once. Sumo had encountered many difficulties, but she could always turn misfortunes into blessings at crucial moments, so she had never thought of using this token. Today, it was only when she arrived at the Nine Nether that Sumo thought of it. The Nine Nether City was much better than the Tianfu City. Thinking of this, Sumo smiled and felt a lot more relaxed. Her safety in the Nine Nether should be guaranteed. Then, she might be able to seek some help in the Nine Nether City. Now, Sumo had 3 goals. The first was to improve her cultivation base, so that she could cultivate the Dust Sieve Sutra and go to the Dust Sieve realm to find Mu Jinghong. The second was to return to the northern Cold City to see what had happened in the Undead City that day. The third was to find the real Yi Wuhui and give her the 3-inch puppet. The road under her feet might lead to the Nine Nether City. Sumo waved her hand and said to the black feather deity and the little white pig, "This is the Nine Nether City. However, we can't be too ostentatious. You can go back to the ragged bag for now to digest." Humph. The little white pig couldn't wait to go back, because it felt very tired, and the key was that it had eaten too much, so it had to sleep to digest. The black feather deity wasn't much stronger. Therefore, after hearing Sumo's words, they didn't hesitate at all. One turned into white light, and the other into black light, and directly flew into the ragged bag. Until now, Sumo still didn't understand why the ragged bag was so magical. All his valuables were in the ragged bag. However, from the outside, the ragged bag seemed to be deflated. When he picked it up, it was as if it was empty. A bag could contain a universe. The ragged bag was in the storage bag. Therefore, Sumo patted the storage bag, very satisfied. Then, Sumo walked down the narrow path under his feet. Although Sumo had the token of the Nine Nether, he didn't have the map of the Nine Nether. Therefore, Sumo didn't directly ride the wind. It was his first time in the Nine Nether, and he was unfamiliar with everything. Sumo felt that it was better to keep a low profile. Moreover, the Nine Netherland was known as Hell, and there might be danger in a single step. The Black Valley just now was proof of that. The evil dog in the Black Valley didn't cause too much trouble for Sumo, but it didn't mean that there was no existence in the Nine Nether that could threaten Sumo's life. Therefore, Sumo was very cautious. However, although he was walking, Sumo's speed wasn't slow. It was almost like teleportation, and he could cross several kilometers with a single step. The winding path was rather winding. There were many poisonous grasses and evil beasts on the sides of the path, but for Sumo, who was in the Undying Realm, their levels weren't high. Therefore, Sumo would just wave his hand and get rid of the things that were blocking his way, not affecting his journey at all. In the Netherworld realm, Sumo couldn't tell the direction, so he kept walking along that narrow path. Sumo felt that he had walked for about 700 to 800 kilometers. That narrow path directly connected to a main road. The small path he was walking on could be regarded as a fork in the main road. Sumo looked around and then went on the main road, heading in a certain direction. At this time, Sumo's divine sense could cover a radius of 50 kilometers. Beyond 50 kilometers, it was somewhat blurry. However, He could sense that there seemed to be a towering stone tablet that was more than 300 meters tall 70 kilometers away. Thereupon, Sumo headed straight for that stone tablet. Along the way, Sumo didn't meet a single person. It seemed that the netherworld realm was empty except for evil beasts. Very soon, Sumo saw that stone tablet. That stone tablet resembled a mountain, and was as straight as a sword. However, there were obvious traces of someone polishing it. Sumo stood in front of the stone tablet and raised his head to look at it. On the side of the stone tablet that was facing him, there were 16 snow-white words, each of which was several square meters in size. After entering the netherworld, you can't turn back. With the original sin on your body, you will never perish. After looking at the 16 snow-white words, Sumo couldn't help but raise his brows. What, you can't go out after entering the netherworld? What was the original sin? Back then, he had heard about it from Linghu He Huan. Sumo didn't care about it, and took a step forward. That was tantamount to crossing that stone tablet. On the other side of the stone tablet, there were large, vermilion words written. Gods, demons, immortals, skeletons, and beauties, your sins are unforgivable, repent and be saved. Chapter 390. Each of the scarlet characters was filled with a murderous aura. Every stroke was filled with a deep warning. Sumo looked at the stone tablet, and a strange feeling rose in his heart. Because the words on both sides of the stone tablet were very confusing. The stone tablet was erected here to warn people not to enter Joyo City. On the other hand, it was to prevent people who wanted to leave Joyo City from taking that step. It seemed to be a contradiction. Sumo turned his head and looked in the direction of Joyo City. At this moment, Sumo found that his divine sense could cover a radius of thousands of miles. There was such a big difference between the inside and outside of the stone tablet? Sumo was curious, so he casually stepped to the other side of the stone tablet. When he looked up, there were still the same 16 snow-white characters. Nothing had changed. Only Sumo's divine sense was limited and could only cover a radius of 50 miles. Other than that, nothing happened. Sumo frowned. I can come and go as I please. Could it be that the words on this stone tablet were spoken casually? Sumo retreated again, and his divine sense could once again explore thousands of miles away. At this moment, Sumo found that there seemed to be a city 3,000 miles away. That city was very special. However, there were two gloomy black characters on the city gate, Joyo City. Joyo Nether City. That was Sumo's first thought. At the same time, Sumo found that the road under his feet had completely turned into a green stone road. It was neat and spacious. In fact, for real cultivators, they basically walked on the wind, and the mountains, rivers, and lakes were all flat ground. It didn't matter what kind of road they walked on. But here, there was a spacious road. It was just a symbol, and it represented a status. This 3,000-mile green stone road led directly to Joyo City. Sumo scanned the area with his divine sense. After passing that stone tablet, there didn't seem to be so many poisonous weeds and evil beasts in this area. In the distance, Sumo saw a few cultivators riding on the wind, heading straight for the gates of Joyo City. Sumo thought to herself, it seems that the stone tablet is a portal. The inside and outside of the stone tablet were like two different regions. Now, perhaps what I'm standing on is the true inner land of the Nine Nether, and what's outside the stone tablet should be considered a wasteland. Joyo City was just around the corner. Of course, Sumo had to go and take a look. Thus, Sumo had a thought. He had already changed his appearance. The seventh senior sister's face-changing technique was truly marvelous. Sumo was confident that now that he was in the middle stage of the undying stage, not even break world-class cultivators would be able to see through him. Sumo gave herself the face of a young cultivator. That face was extremely ordinary, with almost no special features. He was neither ugly nor handsome. However, this was exactly what Sumo wanted. At the same time, he suppressed his realm to the early stage of the soul transformation realm. He had just entered the Nine Nether, so he was not familiar with everything. Even with the token, Sumo had to be careful. Pretending to be a pig was not necessarily to eat a tiger, but sometimes pretending to be a pig was really safe. However, Sumo did not know the level of the cultivators in the Nine Nether City. He could only speculate that the early stage of the soul transformation realm should be neither too high nor too low, and it should not attract attention. The less people noticed, the safer he would be. After preparing everything, Sumo did not walk anymore. He simply rode the wind and went straight to the gate of the Nine Nether City. Riding the wind was, of course, much faster than teleporting on foot. In the void, there were cultivators flying by from time to time. Sumo secretly observed. The high-level cultivators were at the high stage of the soul transformation realm and the great completion. The low-level cultivators were at the early stage of the soul transformation realm and the great completion of the nascent soul. However, they were all in a hurry. They either rode the wind, rode the sword, or rode on flying treasures. The level that Sumo had set for himself was just right. Along the way, no one talked to Sumo, and Sumo did not take the initiative to contact other cultivators. It was very quiet here. The cultivators were indifferent and peaceful. To a soul transformation realm cultivator, a distance of 3,000 miles was nothing. Soon, Sumo arrived at the gate of the Nine Nether City. At this moment, Sumo carefully sized up the city. In fact, rather than saying that it was a city, it would be better to say that it was just a city gate in front of Sumo. This was because there was no actual city wall around it. On both sides of the city gate, there was endless black light that extended endlessly, and one could not see the end. At the same time, the black light soared into the sky, and its height was unknown. The gate of the Nine Nether City was also very tall and wide. It was at least 300 meters tall and dozens of meters wide. Sumo stood under the city gate and looked at the two dark words, Nine Nether. He actually felt a tinge of insignificance. This Nine Nether City was indeed extraordinary. Standing under the city gate, Sumo paused for a while. As for the cultivators beside him, they didn't stop at all and directly entered through the wide city gate. There were no cultivators guarding the gate at all. This was like a free city. Sumo did not dare to stay for too long, lest he caused unnecessary trouble. Thereupon, he also soared into the sky and passed through the city gate. However, the moment he passed through the gate, Sumo felt something similar to a spirit sense sweep over his body. However, that sweep didn't cause any abnormalities. Just like the other cultivators, Sumo easily passed through the gate of the Nine Nether City. It seemed that the gate wasn't just for show. It should have some sort of screening function, but since Sumo was a cultivator that met the requirements, he didn't trigger the mechanism. As soon as he passed through the gate, Sumo felt that the atmosphere in this place had changed. When Sumo fell into the Black Valley, he could be considered to have entered the Netherworld realm. Along the way, the spiritual chi here was very thin, and it wasn't even comparable to the continent of white bones. But as soon as he entered the Nine Nether City, the spiritual chi here was very dense. The density of the spiritual chi here was far higher than in other areas, comparable to that of the northern cold city where Sumo stayed. At the same time, Sumo looked around, and he couldn't help but reveal a surprised expression. Because what appeared in front of his eyes was a flourishing world. Sumo scanned the area with his spirit sense and discovered that there was everything within a radius of several thousand kilometers. Mountains, rivers, forests, towns. This place shouldn't be called a city, but a world. And the places that Sumo scanned were probably just the tip of the iceberg. At this time, Sumo also realized that there wasn't the word city on the gate, only the word Netherworld. Perhaps the Netherworld city was somewhere else. There was a world hidden under the sea of bitterness. The Netherworld realm. This was truly unimaginable. Sumo stood in a daze inside the gate, somewhat shocked. There was a small town several dozen kilometers away. Therefore, Sumo had no choice but to head toward it. He wanted to have a simple understanding of the netherworld realm first. At this time, a young man wearing white clothes was sitting in a restaurant in that small town. The young man was holding a cup with one hand and drinking by himself. At this time, he looked in the direction that Sumo came from, and the corner of his mouth rose as he muttered to himself. He unexpectedly passed through the netherworld life and death gate without causing any disturbance. It seems that this guy has an extraordinary background, and is also someone who has experienced life and death. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.